'Cause we're invincible. No, we won't be shut out. Won't take this lying down. Hey, it won't save you now. 'Cause we're invincible. No, we won't be shut out. Won't take this lying down. Hey, it won't save you now. 'Cause we're invincible. Show me a battle horizon. I'll show you an army worth fighting. 'Cause we don't take nothing lying down low. No, we bet teeth and skin ready for biting. So point me in every direction. In the prize I can see my reflection. 'Cause we can take everything you got and spit it right back. 'Cause we're ready for action. Take aim and fire up. Smoke's rising higher. You know your time's up. We won't back down for nothing. Take aim and fire up. Smoke's rising higher. You know your time's up. We won't back down for nothing. 'Cause we're invincible. No, we won't be shut out. Won't take this lying down. Hey, it won't save you now. 'Cause we're invincible. No, we won't be shut out. Won't take this lying down. Hey, it won't save you now. 'Cause we're invincible. Take aim and fire up. Smoke's rising higher. Take aim
racing from Daytona.
Get loud and ready. It's time to settle the score. Get loud and ready. We take the offer for more. Get loud and ready. It's time to settle the score. Get loud and ready. Get loud and ready.
Final time to 3. He looks to the inside. Side by side. Last corner they touch. Final time at a turn 4. Keegan Leahy. Oh, there's contact. A huge one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Countdown to Green. I am so happy. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway, and I'm just so happy to be here going along the season with you. We're going to be breaking down all the storylines, giving you inside interviews, and of course, going in depth with our analyst. We have Alan Cavada and Brandon Cattell joining us. How are you two doing?
Oh, it's so much fun to be a part of this series. It's great to be here. I'm excited to get the season started. We had the taste with the Clash, but now it really counts. Daytona International Speedway. It's going to be awesome.
2022, guys. Let's kick it off strong.
Yes, and like Alan mentioned, it was a strong kickoff with the exhibition race at the LA Coliseum Clash. And I have to say, like, there was a lot of action that went down. That was a historical race as we saw iRacing built out that track and then put it into sim, but also real life. Alan, you got to see the real life race happen in person. What was that like?
Yeah, you're seeing video of it there when they took the green flag for the main event. It was so cool. And to know that iRacing was part of that build, and then you get out there and you see a place that was supposed to be a football field. You couldn't tell that was a football stadium, the way the track was built. Joey Logano doing those donuts, getting that victory, first time ever, and just seeing, you know, what it looked like and how everything was applied from iRacing, the drivers and the feedback, and what NASCAR was able to do and put a racetrack 10 minutes away from where LeBron James plays. The cars look good. It was our first look really up close at those next-gen cars. Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. It was just such a spectacular event. It was fun to be a part of.
Yes, and it was loud. There was so much excitement happening there, but there was also excitement happening on the simulation side. Brandon, you got to obviously watch the race along with all of us. What were your thoughts on the virtual race?
Well, on the flip side of that, Camille, first off, I want to just say how jealous I am that I could not make it out to the LA Coliseum. Alan, you were one lucky person. I will have to say that. Got to see everything happening out there. But look at all the racing that we had on and off the racetrack. I guess we have multiple side-by-side battles here. Everybody was fighting for the bottom. People were running into each other, bumping, banging, trying to get into transfer spots. It was a clash. It was a true clash at the Coliseum. We saw Casey Kerwin take home the win in the 95 car. How fitting from the Cars movie. Just how fitting was that to see the 95 win once again at the Coliseum?
Yes, it was definitely, lots of close calls there. But also, with this season, as we go in, there's going to be a little bit of a shakeup as we have new teams joining. Isn't that right, Alan?
Yeah, one of them, I mean, you could see it there. Charlotte Phoenix Racing. It's so important because this team is based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, the hub of NASCAR racing. It's first foray here into sim racing, but it's got competitive teams around all other sorts of esports. But I like what they're doing, being from Charlotte, important buy-in, and most importantly, I like their drivers. We'll talk about some of them later, but they have a good mix of drivers at Charlotte Phoenix. So glad to have them here in the iRacing series. And they're not the only new team. RFK, maybe you've heard of it. Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. Yeah, that Keselowski, Brad Keselowski, now part owner of that team at Roush Fenway. 8 championships across NASCAR's top 3 divisions, of course. Their first Coke season was back in 2019, but they've got some new brain power, new ownership over there. We'll see what it does on the esports side for them.
Well, Alan, with the older team, with some of the new teams coming in, we have some of the older teams rebranding over the off season. Formerly known as Richmond Raceway Esports, Rise Esports has risen up to the occasion with their drivers. Sorry, I forgot their drivers, but their drivers are gonna look to show whatever it takes to win. Novak and Mullis coming in. We also have eRacer coming in to this season with Landon Castle jumping on board. They were formerly known as Kligerman Sport, Burton Kligerman Esports. Landon Castle, long time in the Coke series. Just really cool to see Landon and Parker getting involved. They do a lot of stuff within iRacing, so to see them both in the Coke series is pretty awesome.
I'm excited to see all these new teams and see what they have, as well as just like the esports teams coming in there as well. We also have some new additions or new manufacturer alignments of 4 teams. Let's take a look at that. What are you two noticing from these changes, Alan?
Well, what really stands out, look at that Toyota lineup. I mean, when you add Charlotte Phoenix, you add Space Station Racing and Williams Esports. Look, especially a track like tonight, right? Daytona International Speedway, teammates matter, manufacturer orders can matter. And it reminds me of the real world stuff. I mean, Toyota has added 2311 Racing. Last year it was Bubba Wallace. They've added another Toyota with Kurt Busch this year. So Toyota just stacking the deck in the real world, also here on esports. That should factor in tonight. It should anyway here at Daytona.
That's funny that you mentioned that, Alan, because we actually had 2 teams switch from Toyota over the offseason to Chevrolet, and that was Elliott Sadler Esports and Rise Esports. So possibly looking to see more manufacturer teammates out there tonight to give them an advantage at a place like Daytona or Talladega.
Now, you know, the team manufacturers aren't the only movements that are happening. We are also seeing that free agent movements are happening as well. And to help us get a closer look at what these free agency movements mean from last season to this season, we have the help of Keegan Leahy.
Thanks, Camille. While some things change, some things stay the same. A brand new car and brand new teams are balanced by some familiar names and faces returning to the fold. The free agency period is over, so let's walk you through the changes to the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series field. 2311 retains both defending champion Keegan Leahy as well as Mitchell DeYoung, as they both look to begin another dream season. The formerly Richmond Raceway Esports, rebranded Rise Esports, holds on to their lineup for the 3rd year in a row with Zach Novak and Jimmy Mullis. Team Dillon Esports is another team keeping their lineup for 2022 with Corey Vincent and Taylor Hurst back at the wheel. Coming off a great 3rd season in the series thus far, William Byron Esports is looking to continue their momentum into the next gen. They retain both their drivers in Nick Ottinger and Logan Clampett. It may be a new look for the cars, but the same faces are repping the set at X-Set with Ryan Luza and Casey Kerwin. Joe Gibbs Racing sees 2 returning faces, one from last season and one from the first year, as Ray Alfala is joined this season by Bobby Zielinski, returning to his 2019 Coke Series ride. For Elliott Sadler Esports, their new driver comes from within the organization, as rookie Liam Brotherton is promoted to the Coke Series to join teammate Garrett Baines. Wood Brothers Racing lost 1 driver in relegation during the offseason, leaving the team searching for a second driver to pair with Garrett Lowe. Coming over in the offseason, Blade Witt will fill that second slot at the team. Kyle Long's Mode Motorsports also found themselves in the same situation, looking for a teammate for the longtime Coke Series veteran Matt Busa. They would find their driver in returning face, with Cody Bias returning for the first time to both the team and the series since 2019. With a busy schedule during the NASCAR offseason, Jim Beaver Esports was also looking for a teammate for series veteran Michael Guest. They found their new driver in Blake Reynolds, who reunites with his former teammate from 2020. Another team looking for a new driver during the offseason, Junior Motorsports, finds some new blood, with rookie Briar LaPrade joining Michael Conti at Dale Jr.'s operation. Stuart Haas Esports were able to lock up one of the 2021 playoff drivers, with Steven Wilson joining the team. He joins Dylan Duval as they look to give Gene and Tony another win in 2022. After the last 2 seasons towards the bottom of the standings, Clint Boyer Racing looks to make a statement. Femi Elenbuson joins the returning Nicholas Shelton as the new tandem for CBR. New name, but same team. The E-Racer nameplate takes over from the fan favorites of the former Klickerman Sport. Parker and Landon went for a mix of old and new names, with Derek Bourdeau making his return to the Coke Series for the first time since 2018, and rookie Colin Bowden lining up next to him. Same song, different chorus for the newly christened Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. However, a different tactic for picking drivers comes into play, with real-life drivers Parker Retzlaff and Caden Honeycutt making their Coke Series debut for RFK. From one of the oldest teams to one of the newest, Space Station Racing is trying to rocket their way to the front with a new driver lineup for 2022. For the esports nameplate, veteran Alan Bowes moves to the team and is joined by series rookie Kyle Peddle. And from a legendary name in esports to a legendary name in motorsports, Williams Esports looks for a fresh start in 2022. Piloting the white and blue will be short track standout Vicente Salas and Coke Series rookie Donovan Strauss. Finally, a new name to the series, Charlotte Phoenix joins eNASCAR in 2022. This team hopes to rise from the ashes and into victory lane. Contender Series champion Colin Keister and 2021 playoff driver Graham Bolin will join the Phoenix in their first foray into eNASCAR. Now that you're all caught up, who do you think is going to be rising to the top of the eNASCAR team ladder? Well, Camille, we'll find out at the top of the hour. Back to you.
Thanks, Keegan. That's a really important question. So, Alan, who was the most notable driver in these movements?
Well, it was weird. That was a great piece, and we saw the driver I'm going with was right there at the end, Graham Bolin. He's going to a new team, but he was one of the few winners last year. Look, there aren't many of these winners in the series, right? So for a new team like Charlotte Phoenix to go up and grab one for the organization, that's a big deal because you expect him to be good on the road courses again. That's where he got the win last year, so you expect them to do well on 2022 on those road courses. And he's a former dirt racer, so you expect him to do well on the Bristol dirt track when we get there here in the Coke Series. So I think it was a great move, a great mix for a new team like Charlotte Phoenix to go and get a winner like Graham Bolin. I expect big things.
Well, that's a great pick, Alan. But, you know, I look at another road course driver, and that's Bobby Zielinski. He's shown us time and time again how good he is at road courses. Last year, he didn't have the best of luck at road courses. He got wrecked turn 1, lap 1 of Coda, and he still came back to finish 4th. But I tell you this, and I tell you now, the guy was super good when he drove that 18 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota when he was driving in the road courses then. So I really think that magic will come back to him this year, and I think he'll sweep all the road courses. Bobby Zielinski, he's going to take it from Mitchell DeYoung. He is so good at the road courses. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
Wow, sweeping the road courses. We're going to have to see how the series plays out. But first, Alan actually got a chance to catch up with Mitchell DeYoung. So let's check that out.
We are just minutes away from the green flag at Daytona, and what a great way to start off the new season than talking with one of the competitors from 2311 Racing. Mitchell DeYoung joins us now. Mitchell, I know it's been a long off season. What is the anticipation like for a brand new season 2022?
2022 is going to be really exciting. Obviously the new car, new teams with all the drivers, and I'm really itching to get back underway. It's been a long off season, like you said, and now I can't wait to see where all the racing is going to be.
The numbers don't lie. I was looking them up. Last year, you were the man on the road courses. 2 wins, almost another one at Watkins Glen. But you keep talking about the car and the changes, the shifting, the braking, everything. What will that mean for you and your skills at road courses? That's where you excelled.
I'm really excited for the road courses because I think these cars are a little more suited to them from what we've seen. I think it's going to be really exciting. Of course, the road courses are, in my opinion, the most difficult, and I think you can make a really big difference as a driver, and I think that will be a lot of fun for sure through all the testing and the prep leading up to it. And I'm just excited to see kind of how the races go with that. I've had the pleasure of racing a lot of different things in different road series at a high level on sim racing in general, and you know, been able to jump back and forth between different styles of cars, high downforce, GT cars, and I think this is probably going to be another one kind of fit right in between. So hopefully I have some skills that adapt well to this, and we can have some more good results.
Sounds like you might be lobbying for a road course in the playoff or the final race, right?
Fingers crossed.
Let's talk big picture as a whole. Your biggest competition this season may just be your own teammate at 2311 Racing, the defending champion Keegan Leahy. What is that like as a competitor when maybe your biggest enemy is also your teammate?
You're exactly right. Keegan is a heck of a driver and extremely good with building setups and whatnot. You can't get an advantage on him. If you want to beat him, you have to do it on the track, make less mistakes compared to a guy who doesn't make any mistakes at all. It's extremely difficult. On one hand, it's really nice to have that benchmark in testing where you always know where you need to be fighting at the very front. However, like you said, really hard to beat. So you just kind of have to take it, one lap at a time, and maybe you end up beating him, maybe not. But we work together as a team. Obviously, want to bring the team championship for 2311 as well. And we'll see what happens at the end of the season.
All right, friends, teammates, that is one thing I love about this series. You can also be enemies at the same time. Mitchell, have a great race tonight in Daytona and have a great season.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And Mitchell is definitely going to be one of those drivers that may make a little many enemies on the track, but he's also one of the diverse drivers with just so much experience with world championships. So, Alan, I have to ask you, let's take a look at the other drivers and how they do in other world championship series. What can you tell me here about this?
Yeah, you could kind of hear and see that quiet confidence from Mitchell DeYoung, that Mr. Smooth, I want to call him, because look at those numbers that are on the screen right there, what he's been doing, where he's been racing, how long he's been doing it. He's only 24, and his stats go back to 2014, all the wins and everything there. That just stands out. It doesn't surprise me that he has a good record and that he's something of a threat here in the Coca-Cola series, but man, those numbers do not lie.
How about you, Brandon?
Well, I look at Ray Alfalo on this list. The man is four-time champion, but he somehow made it into the World Championship Grand Prix Series through 2010 to 2012. And I know he's not the best road course racer in the world. So to see Ray Alfalo to keep doing that, that's really cool to see. And then on the other end, Matt Busa is also a very, very, very good road course racer. And to see him make runs in the GT series as well is very, very incredible.
Now, Alan, Bobby Zielinski is another name of, this list that I have to ask you about. What are your thoughts there, that racer?
Well, we were just hearing, what he's done in the past and how back with Joe Gibbs Racing and the teams that can do this now, especially on super speedways. You're looking at a list of the winners here on super speedways, and we have a lot of them racing tonight. I think that's what's so intriguing to see, is that there aren't many repeat winners, right, that we've seen on super speedways. I think Ray Alfalo is the one that is there only a few times. So a lot of drivers looking for that second win on the super speedway. That's what makes the race, the start of the season, so intriguing.
Now, Brandon, Novak is another name there. What can we expect?
Well, Zach Novak, he is a champion in this series. He's good. To see Novak running World of Outlaws, that just is incredible to me. To see that he could possibly be winning the Bristol Dirt race, that could happen, because we know how good Zach Novak is on dirt. And there's a lot of guys that can maybe possibly show up on dirt this year that will surprise us, who haven't made starts in other series. So honestly, I think it's gonna be a crapshoot, but you never know who will get the job done at the end of the day. But I do really think Zach Novak has a really good shot at getting the Bristol Dirt win.
Yeah, you really never know about, who will take that win, because there's a whole mental aspect that the drivers have to deal with. And Jimmy Mullis is actually going to tell us more about what it takes for these drivers to get their head in the race.
It can be a lot, both on a positive end and a negative end. It's very stressful and strenuous, and, it requires a lot of just mental energy and mental toughness. Because you're going against 39 other guys that are just as good, if not better than you, and they're going to try everything they can to perform better than you when it comes down to crunch time. And, that can really take a toll on you, because the thing that most people don't see is how much time it takes behind the scenes. And, everybody has to put in a good amount of hours of practice time to be competitive. You can't show up and put in an hour worth of practice at Las Vegas and expect to run inside the top 35 in our series. That's not how it is. These guys are the best of the best, and it's really tough. And when you're not running good, that can really take a toll on you because you work so hard to get here, and it's everything is on the line. If you don't show up, then that's really it. And I think that's what makes our series so unique, is that to stay in it, you have to perform. You don't get to be in it for money or any of that. It strictly is on your performance, and I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to the mental end.
Thank you, Jimmy, for that. Now, Brandon, you're a former sim competitor for 4 seasons now. What are your thoughts on the whole mental game of sim racing?
I can totally hear what he's saying there. It can take a toll on you for sure. I personally had a bad season where I was not in the right aspect. I was not there at all. I finished 38th that season. It was not good. It was very not good. But you have to be there. You have to want it. You look at Keegan Leahy, the amount of time and laps and hours that they just put in. It's a big deal, $300,000 on the line. You want to be a champion of a NASCAR series. So you have to be there from a mental aspect. You have to be there. It can get tough. It's a grueling, long season.
Yeah, definitely. But, you got to give yourself some credit. You did get a win in 2020. So what was that shift for you that helped you really focus?
Well, the shift is just really, you just have to put yourself there and just have to wake up and realize there's nobody stopping you from winning other than yourself. And if you do not put yourself in that mental place where you want to perform, you will not perform. And there was times where I just had to suck it up and just get to testing and running laps and laps and laps and laps. And, if you have to sacrifice family time, time with friends, you have to do it. But to perform in this series, you have to put the time towards it.
Yes, put the time towards it. Alan, I feel like that's exactly the same in, the real life experience.
Of course, there's so many parallels, especially talking to the drivers in the Cup Series and the ones that race on Sunday. They put so much time training, not only physically, but for the mental aspect of the sport, right? I mean, because you have to be mentally aware at the end, whether it's 500 laps or 500 miles, you have to be there focus-wise, mentality-wise, if you plan on having any sort of success and winning those races, whether it be the Daytona 500, Martinsville, what have you. Obviously, there will always be a difference between the real-world stuff and iRacing, but that being mentally strong, being there at the end to focus on what matters the most, that is absolutely a crossover when it comes to performance. That kind of stuff does matter, and we see it in iRacing, and we'll see it tonight at the end. You have to stay mentally awake at the end if you want to draft well and win the Daytona race here in the E-Series.
Yeah, and it's not only the Daytona race, but also all the races to come. It's race to race to race, and the journey throughout the whole series of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. So let's take a look at the schedule for this series. Alan, what race are you looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to the first time we go to a road course, any of them, really, any of the road courses, really. But once we hit Road America, only because it's the next-gen car, right? And whether real world here in the iRacing series, it's such a difference. And what we keep hearing is that we may see the biggest difference at road courses. Remember, there's different shifting, different suspension, different wheels, different everything with the next-gen car, and it may affect it the most at the road courses. So those who have the best skills at these road courses, they may be in for an advantage once we get there. So that's what I'm most intrigued by.
How about you, Brandon?
Well, I love the super speedways. I have to go with Daytona. It's the race that kicks off the 2022 season. It's my favorite race. It's one of my favorite tracks. I think when you look at the series, there's no better place to start the season than Daytona. And it's Daytona. You want to win Daytona. It's our Super Bowl of our sport. So you want to always win the first race. Daytona it's the one for me.
Yes, Daytona, and off the heels of the Super Bowl as well. So very exciting time to kick that off. Now, for the drivers, as they hit the track this season, they're not only going to have to maneuver around the whole schedule for the series, but also get their hands on the next gens and adapt to each track. So let's take a look at how the next gens will impact these racers. Here we have Michael Conti to help us out.
I think whenever you've got a new car or a new package, I feel like all I hear when the car and the package come out is how everybody feels like this is going to play into their hands, it suits their strengths, they're going to be the front runner. It's just human nature to feel like you're the best there is, or at least you should feel like you're the best there is if you're in this series, or otherwise, I don't know. But with that being said, the characteristics of this car are quite a bit different than what we've experienced the last couple of years with the Gen 6. And what I mean by that is this car is just entirely harder to drive. It's harder to drive under the limit, and it's way harder to drive at the limit with the lower downforce, with the lower side force, with the thinner sidewall. There's really nothing to lean on. So when you get down into a corner, you're going to make the most time by being the most aggressive. You're going to make the most time by driving the car into the corner harder than the next guy. But if you step over that line and you try to get too much, everything that you gained in the prior laps by executing properly, you're going to lose that. Plus, you may end up wrecking the car. So the fact that there's such a huge penalty for overdriving the car, that I feel like puts me at an advantage, because throughout my whole career I've driven loose cars, I've driven on the edge. I've never liked a tight car, I've never liked driving off the right front, and I've never been good at it. And that's really what we've had the last couple of years, are cars that drive off the right front. So from a characteristic standpoint, this car's got everything I need. I'm super comfortable in it. And over the last couple months especially, I feel like I won't say I haven't mastered the car, because there's always room for improvement, but I've gotten way more comfortable in this car than I ever was in the Gen 6. So I feel like that's going to bode well for me this year.
I think that's going to be the key as well, the thinner sides and the penalty if you take those turns too hard. What are your thoughts, Alan?
Oh, I loved what I heard. That was such a good explanation about what he's feeling in the car with this new next-gen car. Honestly, it sounded like the Kevin Harvicks of the world, the Carl Edwardses of the world, who all they ever wanted was as much horsepower as possible to go into that corner as aggressively as possible. And if you're the driver who can handle it, it will benefit you, but you're on that razor's edge. And to hear Michael describe what they're feeling going into the corner, I love the risk-reward aspect of it. That will absolutely change some of the driving styles. It'll be interesting to see how fast people can adapt to all this, because those were some big changes. And to hear about the feel right from a driver, that was interesting.
Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Well, that was a really good segment there by Mike. And to note on that, I, as a driver, always hated driving off the right front. I always liked the car that was very loose and on the edge. And I remember racing around Michael Conti in the 2013 season. I remember him being very good and end up winning the championship when the cars were at some of their hardest points to drive. So that really leads me into just how these cars, the next gen, how they drive. Are we going to see that, on the edge to be fast? I think we will. And that, from a driver's perspective, is just so much fun. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you how pumped up I am for this season to get going, because I love when cars are on the edge. I love when they're right seconds away from wrecking. I love that you have to be on the edge to win. Michael Conti, look for him to be really strong this year. I think Ralph Fowler will be strong. Anybody who was really good at high horsepower, low downforce packages, I think they'll be really, really good this season.
Yeah, the drivers won't only have to deal with handling the next gen cars, but also handling some new rule changes coming this season. That's going to actually switch up how we look at the series, right, Alan?
Absolutely, especially with the way, I mean, the path to a championship, right? Because the point leader after the regular season is now going to be guaranteed a playoff spot, where that wasn't necessarily the case last year. Because Steven, regardless of having a win, that's what's important, because there were times last year, drivers like Steven Wilson, Graham Boland, they were leading the points late in the season without that win, and they were facing the prospect of missing the playoff. That's a rule change this year that could change the way we see some of these guys race toward the end of the regular season, right? You can be conservative, maybe try to hang on to that point lead without making too big of a move if you really feel you have to, checkers or wreckers. But I still like the aspect that, look, the best way to a playoff, the best way to a championship, the best way to anything, right? Just win, baby. But that is a significant move and rule change for this year.
Now, Brandon, what are your thoughts on that rule change and also Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, Rookie of the Year. This is something that I would have loved to have in my rookie season in 2013. $300 bonus to the highest placed rookie. I finished 10th in the points that season. I would have had that $300. So where's my $300, iRacing? Other than that, this is really cool. We got to watch out for the yellow stripes. Liam Brotherton, I'm going to pick on you because you're my buddy. He's worked really hard to make the series. Got to watch out for Liam this year. He's going to be riding the outside lane, as I've seen him do many times before. He's going to be on edge. So you got to watch out for that rookie right there. But yeah, the coolest thing is to see the yellow stripes finally implemented in the series, to know who you're racing around. You don't know who's a rookie you didn't know who was a rookie in the past. So to see that, you might be a little bit, you might take some cautiousness when you're around them, and who knows, you might move them out of the way because they're just some rookie.
They're just some rookie, but we're gonna have to see how these changes actually take into effect this season for the racers. And speaking of that shift from last season to this, we have our defending champion Keegan Leahy joining Alan to talk about his thoughts on the season ahead.
Yeah, of course, we cannot start a new season without talking to the defending champion. From 2311 Racing, Keegan Leahy joins us. Keegan, I know there's no locker room to walk into or field to walk on, but what is it like walking back into this world as the champion?
It feels like I belong here, I guess, doesn't it? Honestly, it just feels like same old, same old. Ready to start a new season. I've got that same sort of anxiety and a bit of discomfort, honestly, stepping back in the virtual cockpit. And honestly, I feel a little bit rusty. There's no substitute for doing a Coca-Cola series eNASCAR race. You can't really practice for it. Honestly, I'm just going to jump in and do my best tonight and see how it goes.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to it. But, just as you climb the top of the mountain, what do? They go and change the car on you, right? The next gen car. What does that bring into the factors, the change? What does that mean for you personally when they change up the car and now everyone's got to kind of relearn what's going on out there?
Yeah, you're right. Alan, it's not just about the driving and the look of the car. Of course, what we do before the race, all the preparation that goes into building the setup and preparing strategy, this car has thrown a bit of a wrench into that. A lot of my experience that I might have leaned on with the old car, this time it's completely new and it's a bit of a leveler, I would say. A lot of the rookies have almost the same experience as what I have. The only difference is, like I was saying before, they haven't done these difficult races. You can't really practice for them. So at least my experience will shine through in the racecraft, hopefully.
You're the champ. All eyes will be on you. Yeah, you've said, I've read it, you don't feel any pressure going into the season. How do you balance all that?
Yeah, not too much pressure. It just feels like normal, like I was saying before. People keep saying I need to go defend my title, I've even won this race 2 years ago, so I guess I'm not the defending champion of the Daytona race. Yeah, I've got a title I'm looking to defend, and honestly, I think about it less than most people do, like you kind of alluded to there, but I'd like to back it up with the second one, of course.
Absolutely. And to that point, though, no one has defended his or her title in at least a decade. Can you be the one?
Yeah, it's kind of funny that one guy you're talking about who has defended his title is Ray Alfala, and he's still in the series trying to do it. So, you know what? I don't really want to be trying to do that another time 10 years from now. So it'd be nice to get it out of the way this year, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, the journey for back-to-back titles starts tonight in Daytona. Look forward to see you out there, champ.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, there is a lot on the line for Keegan, but there's also a lot on the line for our viewers because it is time for my favorite segment of Countdown to Green. It is Tweet Your Rigs, brought to you by Logitech. This is where we look at your rigs that you have at home and give you our takes on them. Our first one is from Kevin. Alan, what do you think?
Kevin, I first of all, I love it. Look, I'm new to the iRacing world, and it looks like you're watching The Office while also trying to be, a great iRacer. I approve both of those things. This is Alan Cavana approved. That's exactly what I would do if I had a second monitor. I'm trying to do all this with one monitor. If I had a second one, I would just waste it on Office episodes. Great job, Kevin.
Kevin's got his priorities straight. I like that.
Kevin's thinking of, I need a little Steve Carell to motivate me to go forward. But Brandon, we're also seeing that this is a desk mount.
Yeah, it's a desk mount. Sometimes whatever works, and whatever works.
I love that though, because then if you don't have a full rig, you could just jump in by mounting your wheel to a desk. It's that simple.
You can race anywhere. I mean, see, this guy's doing it. I know Justin Malello, he goes hotel to hotel and races. This is a Dallara World Champion driver, James Pinsker. And he's got a cool little setup going on, 2 monitors.
Yeah, I don't know about the keyboard on the bed, though. I feel like that's not sturdy.
Well, sometimes you got to make do, and it looks like he's making do.
Yeah, it looks like, did he get angry at the soda can? I'm not sure what's going on there.
Was there a loss there? Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like a Coca-Cola can, first of all, so thank you for that, James. But looks like some decisions were made here in terms of, let's get, the really good equipment, a bedding, shelf. We don't need that so much in life. I like that decision.
You're absolutely
that
right.
Coke can being destroyed was definitely caused by a 4X.
Yeah, I kind of want a clip of that moment when that Coke can was destroyed. Our next one is PB Miles. Alan.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it. This is pretty intimidating, being behind those 2 major monitors. I can't, is that the chair? Almost looks like a monster sitting there or something, but you can tell that this is a racing fan. I love those pedals down there on the bottom. This looks like a good setup where no one can sneak up on you when you're iRacing if you're on this setup. I like a little paranoid driving going on right here.
What I like about this, it's a folding chair. So it's a grab and go, really. He can move it wherever he wants to.
I don't know how it's going to be grabbing those 2 PC builds, though. That may be a little bit hard. Our next one, we have Rich. Whoa. Screens galore, right, Brandon?
Yeah, we've got tons of screens. We've got 2 computers. I know the prices for computers these days. Rich.
Rich is rich.
Send me some money, Rich.
Yeah, Rich, good job. Is this Denny Hamlin's house up at Lake Norman? I mean, look at that setup, all the monitors going. What I love obviously, I love the iRacing setup. I mean, great microphone. You can see the lights. This guy is made for prime time, but he's got an old school poster up there. It looks like our man Larry McReynolds, Mike Joy, Darrell Waltrip, Dale Jr. poster up there. I really like that. I can appreciate some old school. I like it.
You gotta love the NASCAR inspiration right there. Our next one is from Daniel Thomas. These are huge monitors. Alan?
Yeah, those are beautiful. Look, beautiful setup. But when it comes to, no frills in terms of background. This is all about performance. That's what I'm reading into this, Mr. Thomas here. So yeah, I love the near wraparound of those huge monitors. I love the color of the wall. I mean, this room was made for iRacing, and he looks comfortable. It looks like high performance stuff there. I'd be intimidated by him on the track.
I'm not sure if that's the entryway to his room, but nobody's getting in his room.
Right with that door.
Or they're gonna hit themselves their leg on the stands for these TVs. Daniel is just too excited to get them mounted to take off the stands of the TVs. Our next one is from Mike. Ooh, nice and orange. I'm liking this one, Brandon.
Yeah, we have a little iRacing truck in the diecast case down there. Chase Elliott. But yeah, look at this setup. This is obviously a Chase Elliott fan. This is can't get much better than this. This is something I want.
Yeah, I don't think you can race and get in that cabinet, but yeah, awesome Chase Elliott fan. I mean, I'm jealous, growing up a racing fan, I would have loved to rig off my favorite driver. I especially love that iRacing truck down in the corner. If you remember, he won the Charlotte race. I was there on pit road doing the winner's interview. That was the bounty race. There was a bounty on Kyle Busch. Chase Elliott went out there and did the thing. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm curious on this cabinet. I wonder if, what's in there, Mike? Is it a lot of Coca-Cola cans? What's in there? We got to know. The next one, we have Nicest Outlaw.
Yeah, look at this. That's cool. I like the corner placement. You haven't seen a lot of those. It looks almost elevated as well. There's different levels in that room going on. I think this is creative. Creative mountain, creative lighting. Looks like old school baseball photos or even cards up there on the wall. This is pretty cool, the Aces Outlaw.
I don't know about you guys, but those lights on the monitors would be distracting for me. I would just have to say, I would probably crash looking at the lights.
Yeah, clean up some of those wires too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Aces.
Clean up the wires, but you know what? I think Aces just wanted to join us at our light party, so I'm for it.
Love it.
Our next one is from Tim. Tim, cable management, first and foremost. Alan, what are you thinking?
I love the seat. I mean, that looks like legit, carbon fiber or something? I mean, that might be straight out of a race car, so I have to applaud that. Shout out to my friend and journalist, Bob Pockris. If you've ever seen him at his desk, his wires look a lot like those wires, so maybe he's just trying to imitate our friend there in the real world. I don't so much love the wires, but man, I love that seat and that setup.
I love the button box.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of button boxes. Any way you can get rid of clicking things before you make a pit stop, those are a big help. And look at this rig.
Whoa.
This is
the buttons galore from Anthony.
Talking about buttons, we have too many buttons now.
Where am I, Goose? Is this Maverick setup here going on? Are you shooting down, jets up there? I mean, this is, I don't know what you do with this thing, but man, that looks intense and awesome. That's cool.
Oh my gosh, there is a lot happening there. I'm just, I don't even know where to go with this one because it is too much. But we do have one last Twitter rig. Let's look at it. Very simple. Brandon, what are your thoughts with Anthony's rig?
I'm a big fan of these rigs because they're simple. They get the job done. You can put them anywhere in your room. You can fold it up if you want to, put it in the closet away at night. So just something simple like this is perfect for the average sim racer who just wants to get their racing kick.
Absolutely. Look, all kinds can do this, right? We saw a carbon fiber seat. This looks like it might have popped out of an old Volkswagen or something. So whatever you need, man, you just get in there, get to racing, and do it on the track. That's where you do your talking.
Well, what Anthony needed, obviously, was the fan right on him. So I love it that he's keeping nice and cool while he races. Thank you so much for sending in those Twitter rigs. Remember, you could send us all Twitter rigs to look at throughout the series. But first, we are getting closer to tonight's race. And Alan is joined with Grand Marshal Ben Kennedy to get his thoughts on the race ahead.
Yeah, special joining us tonight, being the Grand Marshal, NASCAR Senior Vice President of Strategy and Innovation, Ben Kennedy. So nice to have him join us on here. Ben, NASCAR has taken a few esports initiatives over the years, but how important have those initiatives been to the future of NASCAR itself?
Yeah, I think the the Coke Series and esports in general is incredibly important to not only today, but really the future growth of our sport as well. I mean, you think about a lot of the up and coming drivers nowadays, and I think William Byron is a great example of it. Started on iRacing, got his feet wet there before he went to compete in the real world. And I think there's a lot of other stories, and I think we'll continue to see more stories like that of drivers that are competing in the iRacing world today that will, eventually go on to compete in our Cup Series and our National Series. So it's a great platform. It's a great way to learn a lot of these tracks, a lot of the cars nowadays. And, I think it certainly has a ton of, potential for the future of our sport.
And it is such a huge week in NASCAR and here in the Coca-Cola series because it is the debut of the next gen car. When you think of all the R&D, all the work that's gone into this next gen car, what's the anticipation like for tonight and Sunday at the Daytona 500?
Oh, it's great. It's fantastic. And I think this is another, testament to the partnership with iRacing, is having them help us actually develop that next gen car in the virtual world and be able to test out, the independent rear suspension, the sequential shifting, kind of all of the things that are new to us with the next gen car. But, I think it's going to be fantastic for our sport. It brings a lot of the relevance back for our OE partners. If anyone has seen, any one of those next gen cars parked to kind of their showroom floor, relative, they look almost identical to each other. The body styling is, so much more identical to what they see on the showroom floor. The 18-inch wheels look amazing. I think from a racing product perspective, in my opinion, the racing that we saw last year is probably the best racing that we've ever seen. I think this will actually top it. So I think the racing will be better this year. And then, on top of that, with the new kind of team ownership model that this brings, we're seeing this kind of new influx of team owners coming to the table. And, Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlins of the world, to Justin Marks and Pitbull, to Matt Tifft and BJ McLeod, to Floyd Mayweather that announced the other week. And I think a big reason for kind of all of that inflow is really for the next gen car and kind of what it brings to the table for them.
Ben, thank you so much for being on with us. I know you have some extra work to do. You are the Grand Marshal tonight. We'll let you go prepare for that. But it was great to hear from him, Camille.
Yes, definitely. We cannot wait for Ben to kick things off. And right now we have Brandon, who's actually going to take us through the track. Brandon.
Hey guys, we're at the Daytona International Speedway. I'm Brandon Cassell. I'm running some laps with the Coke guys right now. We're double file, side by side. A lot of people are side drafting. You'll see a lot of that tonight. Look right there. He goes in the center, he gets in the sucker hole, and he goes straight back to the end of the line. And you'll see that all night long. Whatever line has more cars in it will have the advantage. I'm going to move down to the bottom here right behind Nick Ottinger. Nick Ottinger is one of the best super speedway drivers to do it. Look, they're going to leave the middle open for me here. And as long as I have help, I can try to make this middle work. But you'll see time and time again tonight, the outside lane is probably going to prevail. You actually might see drivers hop up to the outside lane and single file, run a train right until the last part of it, just so they know they can make sure they have a shot at winning it. And the racing right now is incredible. I could do this all day. So fortunate to race with these guys. Back to you, Camille. This is so fun.
Well, Brandon, we don't want you to do that all day, but we'll give you some time to get your excitement under control before we get back. Alan, I have to ask you, though, you heard what Brandon said. Take us through this track.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Daytona International Speedway, one of the most famous places on earth in terms of racing. 2.5 miles around this beauty, been around since 1959, 31 degrees of banking. We know what that leads to, the pack racing, the drafting, all that stuff. But I tell you, there are no accidents at this track, whether real world or here in the Coke Series. It is absolute skill doing this drafting stuff, and that's what will win tonight. What a beautiful place.
All right, let's take a look at these driver plates here and the track history in terms of wins. Now, yes. Brandon, tell us what we should really pay attention to here.
I recognize the name.
Super Speedway win history. Obviously, I got to win at Talladega a couple years ago. Luckily, not luck, but but when I look at this list of names, Ray Alfala is the only repeat winner at Daytona, guys. So that might be notable. I don't think he's the best super speedway racer out there. I think Nick Ottinger, on the other hand, he's got 3 super speedway wins. But yeah, I think we'll see a mix-up of names tonight. when it comes to super speedway racers. We'll see some of the usuals up there.
Yeah,
Alan?
some big names on that list. Dale Earnhardt Jr. I'm glad no one's competing against him tonight. Oh, well, actually, I'd love for him to be there. But what I see, other than Ray Alfala, there aren't any repeats really on there, right? I mean, there's just so many drivers who have a super speedway win, looking for super speedway win number 2 that are in tonight's race. That's what should make it really good.
Yes, and we're talking about the drivers, so it's getting to that moment. We have to talk about our driver picks brought to you by Playseat, and I'm throwing my hat into this one. I'm going with Keegan Leahy. I'm hoping for the back-to-back, fresh off the win of last series. Brandon?
Well, I picked him last year to win Daytona, and he proved me wrong. I'm going to pick him again, Malik Ray. He's a super speedway guru. I think he's the best out there when it comes to this. I think he wins tonight. Alan?
All right, look, Camille and I are on the same page. The champ is here. The champ is walking back into the virtual track. Keegan Leahy, new number. That's the only thing that's changed. I think he's got the talent to do it again. He's won at Daytona, comes in as the defending champion of the series. Until you dethrone him, I'm picking Keegan Leahy.
I love how I just had to jump on it right when we came to the picks. I was so excited. But yes, I'm rooting with you, Alan. Let's go. Let's see if this will happen. All right, now that we have our picks out of the way, why don't we check out all the paints that the drivers are strutting this series?
Yeah, let's start it right off. Ray Alfala, look at that beauty, 51. I mean, I love the colors. I love the scheme. Moving up there, it's beautiful.
Dylan Alt with a beautiful Coke Zero Chevrolet here. I look to see him do really good in the Letarte Esports Chevy this year.
Yes, and then we have Alan Bose, Daytona 2016 winner. And this just looks fresh.
Yeah, Derek Bordeaux, Blue Emu, Doesn't Stink, E-Racer, Parker Kligerman, Landon Castle. That's going to be a fun ride to watch this year.
And the best mullet in sim racing, Colin Bowden, my man driving the number 69 machine. He's going to be definitely one to watch out for this year.
And we have Liam Brotherton. Look at this. This is just nice and fresh. I'm loving all of that. And he's a painter who paints cars. You got to appreciate that.
Hey, fun fact about Liam. A lot of my seasons in the past, Liam had painted some of my cars. He's an excellent painter, good buddy of mine. Probably half of these cars are painted by Liam.
That's cool. I like the transition here, the white and the black here for the Mode Media House, that 24 for Cody. That's a great looking scheme there. And then you get the 97, Logan Clampett. We all know that name, Logitech. I love the lines. Look at that. Looks fast. That just looks fast.
Yeah, that does really look fast for the runner-up last year. I really expect Logan Clampett to have another great year.
Yeah, and we heard from Michael Conti before in the show, and look at that car. I love the contrast between the red and that neon.
Yeah, Mitchell DeYoung, I got to be a favorite tonight. 2311 Racing, Dylan Duval. I like that old kind of SHR, Stuart Haas going with the same number font, gear wrench. That's going to be on Kevin Harvick's car this year. That's neat. And the big green egg, if you know anything about grilling, that's cool. Green, a little bit of a bad luck in racing sometimes, but it looks good on that car.
Hey, big green egg is awesome. I actually won a sim race before, and I actually got a big green egg for winning it. And I use it a lot of the time, so it's awesome.
Yes, and then we have Taylor Hurst here. The blue and the white's very clean. We're going to have to see how that does on the tracks. And then look at this. Nice iRacing car right there with Derek.
Yeah, love it. Another Phoenix car, Colin Keister. Again, this is an expansion team, so I want to see what they do out there. Based out here in Charlotte, they got a good lineup there. 43, pretty famous number at Daytona. That's kind of intimidating. Is that a ghost or a skull on the back of that 95? I can't really tell, but it's intimidating nonetheless.
Here's Briar LaPrade making the move to the number 88 machine this year. Long time. Brad Davies had ran that car for a very long time, so it's cool to see someone else in the 88 car for the first time.
The champ.
And here's the
and
champ.
then the champ, Keegan Leahy. And Leahy won 2020 Daytona as well as last series, so one to watch.
Pretty
We also-
familiar scheme there for the
Yeah.
Wood brothers. And then another one of those ghosts. I know it probably sounds foolish, but whatever that is, it looks intimidating. I don't want it behind me. I guess I don't want it in front of me either. It means I'm losing.
Maybe it motivates you to go forward. Maybe, maybe that's what's happening there.
Here's
And then-
Garrett,
yeah.
Garrett Maines, the Elliott Sadler Esports machine, looking great. Brian Mercurio with the Wendy's car. I know our producer Drew, he had Wendy's earlier today. He tweeted about it. So
Didn't you have your Wendy's too?
I did too. I indulged in some
love
Wendy's today. Sunoco machine, Jimmy Mullis.
That's pretty. Love the colors on that one. Teammate here, like that one. A little close together for me, but you know, at Daytona, you got to run together. That'll look really sweet. That'll look really good.
And this one, Femi Elenbuson, this is actually painted by our producer, Drew. Drew, good job.
The corn machine. I like it. Nick Ottinger, another one that just looks fast. Love that one. The 25 for Willie B's team. William Byron, big win last night.
Here's
Good
Kyle
stuff.
Peddle. Kyle Peddle's Space Station gaming car, which is really cool that he drives for Space Station. He's a pilot in real life.
Nice.
Ooh, this is fresh. I'm really liking this one from Malagray. I mean, this just has like so much going on, but I love it.
Parker Retzlaff, that is straight out of what we saw at Daytona this week. Practiced earlier, Brad Keselowski's team. What is that, a monster truck, an off-road truck? I like that. Blake Reynolds, that's cool.
Yeah, Blake Reynolds. Hopefully he doesn't catch any air tonight with that car.
That would not be good.
That would not be good. Vicente Salas's car, that's looking really good. Here's the number 14. Hey, I drove this car a couple years ago. It didn't look as good as it does tonight, though.
That might be the winner.
With Nick Shelton driving. Our buddy Cisco actually painted that.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Chili Blast, it looks cool. Ice cold, as Andre 3000 might say.
It's ice cold, but this one is ice cold with a glass of Coca-Cola on the side. This is from Corey Vincent. I mean, come on brand.
Love it. Another Wood Brothers ride, familiar paint scheme there in the 16. That's a nice one.
And we ended out with Steven Wilson and that beautiful number 10 Smithfield Ford. Oh, we actually have one more after this.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You
Bobby
can't forget,
Zielinski.
yeah. You cannot forget Bobby Z. And I mean, countdown to green and the green, right? It looks good.
Yeah, Bobby's car. I personally think Bobby's car is the best looking one out there. That green machine. Expect big things from Bobby this year.
Yeah, you certainly can't miss that paint scheme at Daytona. Brandon, give me your thoughts on teamwork tonight, because there's a lot of good teammates, but they're also competitors. But
Yep.
teamwork makes the dream work, especially at Daytona. How important will that be tonight?
You know, I think for the first 90 laps, Alan, it is going to be all teamwork. But the last 10, all bets are off. We're going to see people pull off from that top line. They're going to be running single file for a while. I think they will. But I think they'll pull down to the bottom, and it's going to get hectic, and it's going to get hectic quick. We'll probably see not one big one, not two big ones, probably three. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Here's some practice crashes that we already had.
Oh, no.
Obviously, look, I think that was a Space Station gaming car
Yep.
upside down, I guess going to the moon.
It's so sad after seeing those lovely paints just get destroyed by these crashes in this practice round. But you're right, we may see a few of these close encounters happening tonight.
That's another thing you're going to have to look out for. You got to be careful when you're bump drafting tonight.
Yeah.
If you get on the left side of that car, you are going to certainly spin around the guy ahead of you.
Yeah, you see it there. One little tap. I mean, the car in front is moving, so you need some skill to take this one home.
Yes, and speaking of taking this one home, well, why don't we go home to the races, because that is the end of Countdown to Green. We are so excited to be here with you this season. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the race.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
They call them photo finishes because you need to see them to believe them.
By a matter of inches.
And the Daytona 500 has had quite a few.
That was crazy.
But it's also had photo starts and photo drama. And definitely some photo-worthy cars. Lights, camera, start your engines. It's the biggest race of the year.
The Daytona 500.
I am the Daytona 500. I am NASCAR.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
Inches from the wall, you can feel it. The excitement, the emotion, the drama.
Michael Conti wins the season opener at Daytona.
They call this the World Center of Racing. As a driver, this is where you go if you want to be remembered. Now take a minute and consider this. To get here, you have to battle 39 of the world's best and survive the big one. Over 1,700 drivers and only 40 opportunities. Any one of them would have given anything to still be racing tonight. How would I know? Because I was one of them. I raced in the series for 4 years. I know what it takes, how much it means, how much it can hurt, and how much it can reward. Now, they're the ones who can become legends, remembered forever, right here, tonight. Welcome to Daytona.
The road to $300,000 starts again with Chapter 1, where tonight from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the season opener. We're so happy to have you along for the ride as we kick off the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, where, as always, alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, happy to be joined by Blake McCandless upstairs. A big thanks to our Countdown Degree crew for getting us underway. And Blake, I'll tell you what, talking pre-race, just us off the air, through that hour pre-show, talking about predictions for tonight, predictions for the year, the new teams, the new faces. I'm ready to go. It is a long road to $300,000, as we always say, but tonight, a big step in that direction. We're in Daytona again. It's a new season, and we couldn't be happier to be back.
Exactly right, Evan. All of that road, it starts tonight. We had some fun at the LA Coliseum. We had a great time, but guess what? It starts tonight, and I think our Countdown to Green crew said it enough. It's Daytona. Everybody wants to win, and here at Daytona, everybody has an opportunity to win as well.
That's the big thing. It is a long road to the playoffs towards a championship, but you can start off your 2022 campaign with a big step in the right direction. First look at a lot of names in this series. The first now official race with this next generation of NASCAR Cup Series car, Blake, after the Gen 6 era was what dominated most of this series' now 13-year-long history. It truly is opening the page on a new chapter.
It really is, Evan, and I'm so excited by what we've seen out of the tests we've had out of Daytona. And talking to these drivers pre-race, Evan, I don't think that I've talked to a group of drivers that are looking more forward to this race. They feel as though with all of the updates, everything that's come with this brand new car, all of the information that's gone into testing between NASCAR, between iRacing, that they have all the tools, all the draft, all the side draft. They have the tools necessary to go up and win, and they are as excited as we are to see this.
Well, Michael Conti said something very similar in the pre-race. He said everybody thinks that they've got the advantage. It's the way it should be. 40 enter tonight. Later this year, only one will walk away champion. We're going to get things underway. First, let's welcome back in Alan Cavana from our Countdown to Green crew. He's standing by with a special guest.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. I am so excited and honored to be doing this, and I am so excited to kick off our 2022 season. What better way to do it than with the next-gen car and at Daytona, our biggest event of the year, and with something that we've been working on for several years with the next-gen car. This is going to be something really special. So with all of that said, drivers, start your engines.
And we go trackside and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. Nick Ottinger is career pole number 16. He will bring us to the green flag tonight alongside Junior Motorsports' entry in Michael Conti. Keegan Leahy and Logan Klempick going to double up at row number 2. It's a good start for your defending series champion. And Bobby Zielinski and Vincent DeYoung, 5 and 6. Row 4 will see Matt Busa and Graham Boland go next to each other with the Dylan Duval entry and Cody Bias in our top 10.
It'll be Femi Elenbuson rolling off from 11th. You see Colin Keister, a new return to this series. Charlotte Phoenix, a brand new team coming in. They are very excited about that. Look a row back. You have Blake Reynolds and, of course, your Clash winner from the Coliseum last week in Casey Kerwin. Derek Bordeaux and Colin Bowden. Landon Castle, Parker Clearman's E-Racer rounding out row number 8. Garrett Maines, Donovan Strauss there in row number 9. And, of course, rounding out the top 20, how about Malik Ray? We know that he can be strong on these plate tracks, Evan.
Halfway home means that these guys are going to be in the thick of things out of the gate, including the likes of Michael Gaston Series rookie Kyle Peddle for Space Station Racing. Dylan Alton and Brian LaPrade will be back on row number 12. Jimmy Mullis finds himself back in traffic with Liam Brotherton. They'll start ahead of the duo that has Derek Justice and Blade Witt next to each other. Brian Mercurio and Corey Vincent, your top 30.
When you look further back in the field here from row 16, Taylor Hurst, Alan Bowes, a couple of drivers that have a lot of work cut out for them, but again, they're so excited. Zach Novak, former series champion back here. Ryan Luza, one of the top winners in the series, in the history of this series, Evan. These guys have their work cut out for them, but again, it's Daytona. Anything can happen. I wouldn't put anybody back here. Garrett Lowe, Vicente Salas, anyone that's further back in this field. Ray Alfala, Parker Retzlaff, as well as Caden Honeycutt, Nick Shelton. I think they all have that opportunity to go up and get the job done.
Hey, you're in the show. That's what matters, and they're going to have a great view at the start of this one. Let's bring in the third member of our broadcast team. James Pice going to be joining us on the pit road tonight, but James, you have dialed up our pole sitter, Nick Ottinger.
I have indeed. Thank you, Evan. We're now joined by Claremont, North Carolina's Nick Ottinger for William Byron Esports. And William, you got a few friends up here. That's got to make starting up front a little bit nicer for you.
Well, we got a lot of friends up here. You know, I got our teammate starting 4th. You know, Logan starting pretty good with us. And, you know, it's a testament to the time we put into our qualifying car. Our Logitech G machine's pretty quick tonight. So hopefully we can start this season off with a bang. And, you know, that's going in, you know, the actual popping the champagne bottle, hopefully. So, and doing some donuts at the end. But, you know, happy to represent TSM, Logitech G, William Byron Esports, William. So, you know, it's always good when you start up front, and, you know, the objective is to stay up front here.
Well, Nick, thanks for the time. Best of luck this season. We look forward to seeing you out there.
Sure, thank you, man. Enjoy the show.
Mr. Pilsen to Ottinger has got the best seat in the house. It is round number 1 of 18. Blake, talk us through this one with a look at a racer's race analysis.
Well, our ASUS race analysis says this, 80 laps. Of course, that pit road speed going to be very crucial here. The braking going to be of utmost importance. You don't want to lose it on a green flag pit stop. You lose about 17 seconds here. Again, depending on how many tires or how much fuel you want. Of course, we have 3 sets of tires. Don't think that'll be too much of an issue here at Daytona, but look at that fuel window, 38 to 42 laps. These drivers with this new fuel tank that is 20 gallons, a little bit larger than what we had in the Gen 6 car. That fuel window is going to be awfully tight in an 80-lap race, Evan.
We're going to see how this one plays out. Between us and the checkered flag, seeing 200 miles of racing. And we're happy that you're with us for the start of a new season. A pace car down and in. It's Nick Ottinger's field as we say, let's go racing at Daytona. Small advantage early to the outside. Michael Conti's number 8 Chevrolet. Small lead off of turn number 2. These cars just now getting up to speed. 180 miles an hour down off of 2 and down the super stretch for the very first time. You're on board on the inside line with the 41 of Dylan Duval. He is the 5th car actually on the inside line of the racetrack right now. And you can feel that banking on the gyro cam as they work through this 3-story tall Daytona banking for the very first time. Off of turn number 4, the advantage back down to the bottom, and Nick Ottinger trying to lead the first lap of 2022. He'll barely do so.
And doing it over somebody who's led more laps at Daytona than anyone else in eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series history, and Michael Conti. Both lanes, though, you look at the middle and the top right now, having to form up. They both have really good organization to both lanes. What's really interesting, though, Evan, and we're going to talk about this a lot, look at the space between these two lines. You don't see the bottom go, or the top rather, going to the bottom to side draft. I think that these drivers are going to keep that space to not slow each other down and try to get one line to prevail. Right now, that bottom is led by Nick Ottinger.
You talk about Michael Conti's success on the super speedway. He's led the second most laps of anybody all time in series history. 2,274 laps that have been led by the driver of that number 8 Chevrolet throughout his career. Now, we talk about this super speedway package. We talk about these new cars. You're looking off at the back of Logan Clampett's number 97 machine, teammate to your race leader, Nick Ottinger. Logan, though, second on the outside right now behind Conti and ahead of that number 93, or 23, I should say, behind him and Mitchell DeYoung. There are a lot of differences, Blake, in the Gen 6 draft package from last year and these next-gen cars, which we're seeing now. We've talked about some of the physical changes on the cars, but when it comes to this package, there is a lot of optimism throughout the field about the tools that these drivers will have at their disposal to make moves over the course of tonight's race.
That is exactly right, Evan. Talking to these drivers, talking about the moves you can make. We're going to see a 2-car tandem at some point. We don't see it early on. You see even one long line of cars there. They're hoping that these guys up here wreck. Again, we've had 2 caution-free races to open the season. The last 2 years we've come to Daytona, talked to a lot of drivers pre-race, Evan. They do not believe that that is going to be the case here tonight.
Pretty even. You can see a couple of cars down off of this lead pack of single filed out as we race at 193 miles an hour off and into turn number 3. There's a little bit more than a dozen cars, probably in the 15 cars so range up on the outside. So there is a lot of side-by-side racing well through your top 30. Then things break off a little bit. You saw a glimpse of that single file line about a half a second off of this lead pack further on down the road. The rest of the field, 31st on back, have single file out. They do not want to be in this side-by-side racing at the moment. Now, of course, drivers talking about they're optimistic that they're going to be able to make moves. Not a ton of that right now. We're kind of holding our line. Typically, and especially last year, Blake, on restarts and starts, you would see the outside really lag back. In fact, it was the opposite. Conti had the jump, although he didn't end up leading those opening laps of this race. He does now have 1 lap left in his back pocket. So there is no disadvantage, at least seemingly so far, to starting on the top side. But old drivers have warned you don't want to be alone in the middle.
That is exactly right. And you could see everybody kind of leaving that funnel right there. We've seen 2 wide, the top line staying pretty close to that outside retaining wall, and of course the inside staying away or way down there towards the bottom. I think later on in this race, though, if you want to be somewhere, you can be in that top line. They're not side drafting too hard right now, but they are, and you see back here, having a couple of drivers trying to make that third line work. We were just talking about a lot of guys don't think that that's going to happen, but you see Taylor Hurst, he's kind of at the back end of this pack, the first driver that's getting a good bird's eye view of everything that's going on. And a little bit of damage right there in front of him on Brian Mercurio's bar visuals machine. But Taylor Hurst, you could see just trying to... Oh, and that's what you don't want to see, Evan. Trouble in turns 3 and 4.
It is a huge pile up early at Daytona. Can Hurst survive? I think he does. We were on board with him when it broke out in front. And I believe the driver for Team Dillon Esports, of course, the team owned by Austin Dillon's going to get away with that one. But that started quickly and may have started somewhere near the 42 of Derek Bordeaux. He's the first car I saw sideways, and we talked about how drivers were maintaining 2 wide, not wanting to put a car in the middle, and somehow we ended up 3 wide off it into 3. Let's see how this happened. It's the 88 machine leading that middle line charge. It's Brian LaPrade right there, just a little bit out of sorts, and it was the 69 machine up the road to Colin Bowden, who was just a little bit slower, didn't really look like much of a block bit. Blake just wasn't really committed to the bottom or the top of those outermost lanes, and a small touch on the left rear is not something you normally get away with in both of the e-racer cars involved in that opening incident.
Just a really unfortunate there. Bowden had moved to the middle there, and I think LaPrade wanted to give him that shove. And we talked about it, Evan, with this 2-car tandem, that this was perhaps going to be a little bit of an issue earlier on, is that the rear ends of these cars, you could see this isn't the car of tomorrow era where the rear end of these cars and the front ends are flat. They don't align very well, so not very shocking to see that misalignment happen there. LaPrade trying to give Bowden a shove, and he's just not center when he gives him that shove, and all of a sudden, around goes the 69 machine.
An unfortunate break early in this one. Well, we have the moment, though, under our first caution flag of the night. Want to bring Alan Cavana back in to the broadcast. Alan, great job from you, Camille, Brandon, everybody getting us ready to go racing here tonight. I'd mention that you did have a special guest with you, so I'll hand things back off over to you.
Yeah, once again, we're joined by our Grand Marshal, Ben Kennedy, NASCAR Senior VP of Strategy and Innovation. I know we're at Daytona now, Ben, but we started it all off at the Clash. So congrats on all that success, but we can't forget how helpful it was that iRacing was able to build some of these track concepts, virtually prior to those cars getting out there. What was that like, using iRacing and implementing it in the real world?
Yeah, it was super helpful. So we did a couple of mock races with the professional esports drivers. Did a couple of 20 lap races, 50 lap races, threw a couple cautions in the middle of it, just to see how, both the racing product would be and then to get their feedback. So got a lot of really good feedback from them. Candidly watching some of those events, we saw that especially on the 2.5 degree track, everyone was all the way down the apron trying to make it as short as they possibly could. And that was the reason for us putting the rumble strips inside the middle of the corners, is to actually deter that a little bit and get the drivers to run a little bit higher in the track. So got a lot of good feedback from them on that. And, we were also looking at, how is that second group going to be from kind of a racing perspective. And we wanted it to be good enough that someone could, hang on the outside and actually be able to challenge a driver that they're racing against on the inside. But we also want a little bit of the kind of bump and run mentality to it too, which I think we saw. So a lot of good feedback that we got from them, and that ultimately helped us craft what we saw on February 6th.
Yeah, you mentioned that feedback from the drivers, how important that was. How do you get that feedback? What do you want to know from the drivers actually holding the steering wheel? Not only for the tracks like the Clash, but you also saw it for the Chicago street race.
Yeah, iRacing was huge. And we partnered up on this a while ago, but, literally just sent over a lot of the data and CAD, drawings over to iRacing and built it out virtually before we did in the real world. And I mean, if you think about it, we had the risk of actually building a temporary track inside the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, which we had never built anything inside the Coliseum before, but never built a temporary track made for a weekend. And, there are a lot of risks and questions in it, both for what the racing product will look like, what the sight lines will be, what the bannering will look like, where all the lines will be. And to have iRacing support and partnership in it was tremendous. I mean, we were able to test out a handful of different configurations with the tracks with both our cup drivers as well as some of the professional esports drivers. and then get their feedback on the racing, how we should think about the racetrack. Test different varying degrees of banking, and then also play with the sight lines as well for fans that might be in the stands. We want to make sure that no matter where you sat in the house in the Coliseum on that Sunday, that you had a good view of the track, and that was another part of the partnership that we had too.
Ben, thank you so much for joining us. We'll let you go get ready for the Daytona 500 because we're going back to green. I'm going to throw it back to my friend Evan because there's some work to do. It's a big race tonight, Evan.
It was a choppy start for some drivers. We'll see how they pick up the pieces. The pace car's off and in, 9 laps down, 71 still to go in Daytona Beach. We're back underway. It is the 25 of Ottinger and Conti's 8 car side by side on the front row again. And once more, the outside Blake, a better run off to 1 and 2.
Well, you could see the tandem working there for Conti and Clampett. It didn't work earlier. Put a number of drivers behind them all. Corey Vincent, Donovan Strauss, Colin Bowden, Brian LaPrade, Zach Novak, many others involved with some lighter damage. Early on in this race, though, I don't think these guys are deterred at all from trying to make this two-car tandem work.
They're going to be committed to this as the night goes on. Conti was actually clear to the inside, thought that he might have thought about stepping down. Opted not to. He stays in position. Of course, whenever we talk about plate racing, we talk about teammates wanting to get together, and I noted that Logan Clampett, the 97, that's the second car in line on the outside, is the teammate to the 25 machine leading the inside at Nick Ottinger. Those are both the drivers for William Byron Esports. Curious if they're going to try to go work together, and obviously there's a lot of technical alliances as well, Blake, across the team. So this is really a race where those alliances can come in handy, and it certainly looks like that they're not really that worried about fighting against each other at the moment. Conti cleared for the race lead down into 3 as we go on board with the driver out of Houston, Texas. It's the 48 machine to Graham Bolin.
Well, you see Graham Bolin right here. He's kind of behind one of those alliances in front of him, the Charlotte Phoenix onboard camera. You look out in front, you see Mitchell DeYoung, obviously for 2311, Denny Hamlin, and Michael Jordan. And you pretty much have 2 rows, Evan. You have Conti leading. You have 2 teammates of William Byron Esports, Clampett and Ottinger in the second row. And then you have 2 2311 teammates in Leahy and DeYoung kind of leading that. So I guess if you don't work together in the same lane, one of you is going to prevail, but you'd like to try and do it together. But you can see Graham Bolin giving plenty of space here to Mitchell DeYoung, keeping that air bubble nice and tidy, not trying to burst it just yet, just trying to make a couple of laps here.
Of course, a lot of new looks. You talk about some of the new teams. Charlotte Phoenix, obviously new to the series for 2022. There's been a couple of rebrands as well. We referenced eRacer. That's the Parker Kligerman-led team. That was Kligerman Sport last year. What was formerly known as Richard Raceway Esports, now Rise Esports this year. They still have their driver duo of Zach Novak and Jimmy Mullis. Roush Fenway Racing, obviously rebranded to RFK Racing to match what they do in the Cup Series. So not only are there new names, but a lot of changes going on during the offseason.
And certainly a lot of changes. You saw right there that 42 machine of Derek Bordeaux limping along. May need to put some blue emu on that race car to get it going back and up to speed. But up front, still side by side between your top 2. And Evan, another thing of note, this is why qualifying, I think we heard a lot of drivers preseason talking about it, how important qualifying has been. We know it was a catalyst for Keegan Leahy's championship run last season. You see right behind them, Dylan Duval will change lanes. We're right in front of the Mode Motorsports machine. Tight quarters right there. But a lot of these drivers talking about the importance of qualifying. Nobody who started in the top 14 was involved in that last wreck.
It is noteworthy. That's why once we got to the middle portion of the field, I said, listen, you're in the hornet's nest on the grid because you don't necessarily need to start up front to win the race, but the odds are if you're closer to the front, at least early, you're not going to be caught up in a mess like that. And of the 40 drivers who started this race, 34 of them are still on the lead lap. That means that that early incident claimed the lives of at least 6 trucks or 6 cars taken out early in this one. Not all of them have DNF'd it. Some of them are still trying to get some repairs done on pit road, but certainly they are no longer competitive early in this 200-mile race at the Daytona International Speedway. Mike Conti now leading his 6th lap of the afternoon. Only he and Nick Ottinger have led laps to this point. Ottinger has led 8. Conti has led 6. And Again, neither of them seeming to be in any sort of a hurry to get off of the front row. Conti has had ample opportunities to go down in front of the 25 of Ottinger, control the front lane. He's been clear. He has decided not to do that. He wants to continue to control the outside line now, working lap 15 of 80.
Trying to control those lanes. I'll tell you one person that I see in the back who's being awfully aggressive, and it's actually four-time Ray Alfala. You know what the surprising part of it is, Evan, is that he was involved in that initial accident. You can see some damage on the nose of his Toyota. He put it up the middle 3 wide solo a couple of times, and you can see right there the side of that VRS Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing has a little bit of damage, and he's going to try once again, the lone man. He'll move up 1 row, but he has made some nice forays there through the middle. But like we talked about earlier, no help. He quickly falls back, but it's not going to be for a lack of trying here for 4-time to try to get back in this one.
He is messing with it and listed he's back in the high 20s. So if that didn't work, he was going to drop back maybe 2-3 spots, find a spot in line. I like the idea of trying to get a few, but not getting greedy. And we'll see if you get some help. Do you actually want to try to work your way through the field? Remember that early incident in the center of 3 and 4 happened after a couple of cars got some speed and were really trying to catch up to the field in 3, and it just caught up to a set of cars that were side by side. The lines got a little bit stacked. So it's certainly possible, but I think the message needs to be don't go from the outside of the middle up front on your own, because that'll be a quick ticket down to the back of the field. As we watch the battle up front, James, we've talked about some of the drivers involved and out because of that early race incident, and I know you've caught up with a few of them.
I have here with Briar LaPratt out of Manchester, Tennessee for Junior Motorsports, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s outfit. And Briar, not the way you wanted to start your rookie campaign. What happened?
I just seen help coming through the middle, and was just kind of wanting to get up front there, and probably too early to make the move, but I seen help coming, so made the move and rolled up to the 69 at Colin Bowden and tried rolling out of it. Just didn't expect that much of a checkup and didn't hit him square, and just got into his left rear there. I feel very bad, very embarrassed, honestly. Didn't want to, have that kind of a race for my first race, but just want to thank Ledford Billiard Supply, McConey Setup Shop, and everyone with Junior Motorsports for helping me out and getting me going and hyping me up. But yeah, definitely embarrassed about that. Just didn't roll out of it too much, and just couldn't check up in time.
Thanks for the time, Briar. We go now to Corey Vincent from Team Dillon Esports out of Louisville, Kentucky. And Corey, just a tough break. You've had better runs here at Daytona before.
Yeah, for sure. Don't really know what to say. I just hate it for Team Dillon and Coca-Cola Racing. Just felt like we had a good, strong car, but we started in the back, so we were just going to ride there and kind of wait it out a little bit. But we're destroyed, so unfortunate. I'm actually confused because the hit that I took was very small, I felt like, and I had 8 minutes required damage, so I'm numerous laps down, so pretty much done out here.
Thanks for the time, Corey. Best luck next week as we now slide to Donovan Strauss, who, again, another rookie struggling. Tough start to the campaign. What'd you see? What'd you feel from your perspective?
I'm just speechless, to be honest. I had no words for that. I don't know why we're doing that on lap 6 of the season opener, but I don't know. I got no words for that, but I'm sure we'll move on and rebound.
Appreciate the time, Donovan, as we now move to Zach Novak. And Zach, you had one of the wildest rides from what I can tell. What did you see from out your windshield?
Yeah, well, we put a lot of practice into this race, through, races over the weekend and A Open last night. And I was really confident in that middle line, and I was confident that I could hold my line and, kind of go to the front using it. So I definitely was not comfortable riding in the back, and that, that wreck is pretty much why. It's just too congested, and there's just a lot of runs that people can't really control, and it's just really sketchy back there. So I was trying to get out of there as fast as I could, and just kind of wrong place, wrong time, I guess, and just really unfortunate. Probably going to finish 40th for 2 years in a row at Daytona, which isn't ideal, but I'm proud of the effort, of everyone. Thankful for Sunoco and McConey Setup Shop, Sim Seats, Logitech, Virginia State University, everybody at Rise Esports, for the opportunity. really frustrating to say the least. But you know, it is what it is, man. It's racing. It's not much you can do. So just gonna move on and try and get him at Vegas.
You've seen better days at Daytona. Also, finally have Colin Bowden for eRacer, Landon Castle, and Parker Kligerman's outfit. And Colin, just tough. So much excitement coming into the season, and your race is over really before it began.
Yeah, I saw the middle coming, and I just kind of went to the middle. You know, I didn't make no abrasive maneuver, and I don't think Breyer's lifted yet. I mean, just got run slam over on lap 6 of an 80-lap race. But, I mean, it is what it is. Hate it for eRacer. Hate it for all the guys who put all the work in. But come back to Vegas and try and make it more than 6 laps, I guess. Maybe make it 7.
A lot of drivers with a lot of nowhere to go and a lot of no place to be. Just hard luck for a lot of those folks, Evan.
Well, that's the thing, you know, Blake, you mentioned it earlier as well, right? That qualifying was going to be pretty important in this race as we see a bit of 3 wide further on down the running order. The number 51 machine smack dab in the middle of all of it. That is Ray Alfala, and on his own, going backwards. What we warned about a couple of times in this race. But historically, you know, a plate track is not the place we're harping on about Q, right? Obviously, starting towards the rear of the field, you have a bigger chance of being caught up in an early race incident like we saw like that. But there's not a lot of huge movers. There's a couple of outliers. Caden Honeycutt is plus 24 spots. Alan Bose is plus 17. They're in the low teens right now in the running order, but everybody up front who started in the top 10 is basically still there. Drivers are having issues working through the field to get up front.
Well, and the reason, Evan, is because each line has been relatively even. I know a lot of the races, some of the races I participated in the last few days in iRacing, and it's all dependent on the field. You typically see one line that's going to prevail because the quality of drivers in that line, if they're working together, if they're pushing well, the top's going to work. If the bottom's pushing together and pushing well, the bottom's going to work. But obviously, these are the best drivers in the world, so they're getting both lanes to work. And again, that makes it very difficult to try to make that third line work. You get side drafted from both sides. But because of, again, the quality and the talent of these drivers in the field, we haven't seen the top or the bottom lane prevail.
After months of waiting for it, we are underway for the 13th season of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Still plenty more to come. We'll be back to the virtual Daytona International Speedway in just a moment.
I need to try it first.
They call them photo finishes because you need to see them to believe them.
By a matter of inches.
And the Daytona 500 has had quite a few.
That was crazy.
But it's also had photo starts and photo drama. And definitely some photo-worthy cars. Lights, camera, start your engines. It's the biggest race of the year.
The Daytona 500.
I am the Daytona 500. I am NASCAR.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
And back live for iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. Coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coke Zero Sugar. With zero sugar and refreshingly delicious, is Coca-Cola Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Try it today. By Asus, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love for driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedal set of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. By Playseat, the official racing chair of eNASCAR. And by Wendy's. I know a little bit earlier on today, Blake, our iRacing team at iRacing headquarters just outside of Boston had a DoorDash order for Wendy's to power them through today, and you can see it there on the right-hand side of your screen. I'll tell you what, that's a good pick-me-up to get us through tonight's broadcast. Also super excited to see Wendy's on track with us tonight with Brian Mercurio's number 36 entry for Letarte Esports, and I've seen Wendy's out in chat tonight as well.
Yeah, Wendy's has been the star of the Twitch chat out there, and I know looking at that, I think that center one, that was a chocolate frosty, I believe Drew was telling me earlier. So, yeah, this is making me want a chocolate frosty, and of course, man, that makes me want a chicken sandwich too. Too much Wendy's right now, Evan.
See, the pro on being on the West Coast is we're going to be done around 8 o'clock. I think I could make a run to Wendy's and order something. And if you spend a minimum order of $15 with DoorDash on Wendy's, you can get a free hot honey chicken sandwich. Don't forget, of course, to add an ice cold Coca-Cola drink to your order. We're on board with the Wendy's onboard camera. Let's take in the sights and sounds of Daytona. Well, there's a look on board with Brian Mercurio, and he's going to look to secure the bag, if you will, tonight. Blake, certainly fun to see everybody engaging there in our Twitch chat, and hope everybody's having a fun time tuning into the season opener here of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. As things up front still pretty calm. Ottinger and Conti locking things off on the front row. And of course, if you're asking how you can get involved in iRacing and start your sim racing career today, for more information, you can log on to iRacing.com. As always, it is 40% off new iRacing memberships. If you want to run straight stocks at Myrtle Beach, if you want to run a NASCAR Next Gen Cup car at Daytona, you can do either. And of course, a long road to the title here in 2022. To keep up to date with everything on the series schedule, the standings, and information on how to be a driver in this series, you can find all of that out at iRacing.com/eNASCAR. And if you want those updates, just pull out your cell phone, scan the QR code in the bottom right corner of your screen, sign up today. You will stay in the loop in the world of eNASCAR. Just like that, though, Blake, we are closing in on halfway home in this 200-mile Daytona race.
Evan, a lot of information to know. Kyle Petty has spun to the inside here, hard in the inside retaining wall, but it looks like it's just a single car incident. Caution flag not going to fly. I was going to say, Evan, a lot of information and a lot of activity up here at the front as they were once again looking three wide, and there you see right in the middle Charlotte Phoenix. It is getting hairy up here at the front.
It was indeed just Kyle Petty all on his own. No yellow flag, but significant contact to the inside safer barrier, and the 54 car is down pit road. Race leaders, though, unaffected, and we are 3x3 times 4 right now as the field is really starting to get racy in turn 3. The 9 car in the center of it all, that's Michael Guest and the big green egg Ford for Jim Beamer Esports, pushing the 7 of Malik Ray. Malik Ray now all over the back bumper to call into Keister. There's only 2 of them, though, and I don't know if that's enough. Now, Malik Ray bails. He'll go to the inside. Keister fortunate to find an opening, or he would have gone all the way to the rear. Meanwhile, right-hand side, here's the issue with Kyle Peddle, and, I mean, all on his own. That's all air right there.
That is, and Evan, we have heard this time and time again about these next-gen cars. The same problems that the drivers, when they run these tests in the NASCAR Cup Series, are complaining about in real life, or just things they have to get used to with this next-gen car, they're experiencing right there, and you see it. Kyle Peddle just lost the car, loses focus for just a second. Tried to cut from the bottom, or from the top, it looked like, to the bottom there. All of a sudden loops it. Unfortunate for him, not able to keep it out of the wall for damage, but luckily the other competitors are able to scatter around. But again, I think that just speaks to this car and how close it is, that the same problems that these drivers in real life are facing, they're facing them right here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Yeah, we've seen something like that very similar before in the past during speed weeks here in Daytona, and you can see that things have settled down a little bit towards the front of the field. So let's ride again. This time it's the Coca-Cola onboard camera. You're riding shotgun with Corey Vincent.
Golly, wasn't that a lot of lifting, Evan? These guys are lifting a ton back here in the pack with these runs that they're getting.
You know, we've also seen cars getting really loose, right, as well, with the issue with Peddle and some other drivers. So very timid approach, and I think that's a good thing, right, that drivers are out of the throttle. It doesn't mean that they're needing to keep it pinned to stay close. So when you're able to work with the gas like that, it allows you to do different things with the race car. Obviously, it makes it more of a challenge for the drivers. That's a lot of the positive feedback that we've seen out of this next-gen car, is that it is more difficult to drive. That's always something that drivers enjoy, but, you know, kind of throwing things back to what we saw 4 or 5 years ago consistently here on the plate tracks, as drivers lifting and getting a little bit loose even when they're in line and in a large pack like we're seeing right now. We talked off at the very top of this race when we looked at the Aces race analysis, Blake, that a one-stopper was plausible, right? 38 to 42 is the window. Well, that early yellow flag basically guaranteed that, right? Gave all these drivers an opportunity to save a little bit of fuel, and as we close in on the halfway point, the bank's going to be open very soon.
It is. Of course, most of the drivers stayed out under that caution. Some in the back of the field elected to come down onto pit road and top off. So it'll really be around, I think, 43 to 45 is when you're going to start to see drivers come down to pit road, perhaps maybe even a lap earlier than that, closer to 42. But I wonder how the field's going to shuffle out. Everybody's going to have to get down to the bottom eventually. So we ride on board here with the X-Set gaming machine of Casey Kerwin. We'll see how these guys try to navigate to the bottom of the track here with those pit stops just around the corner.
Well, we talked a lot about this, about the Clash, right? But Casey making the number change to the 95 for Lightning McQueen, sticking with X-Set and repping him for another season. The driver to Matthews, North Carolina, is back in the traffic, but riding on the inside right now. Doesn't seem all that concerned, but you know, I always enjoy when we see these onboard looks to see if someone's being chatty with the rest of the team on the radio. Not a ton of chatter at a Casey Kerwin right now, but you can see he keeps looking up, likely has an additional monitor with some sort of data, timing, scoring, something that he's checking on as well. We're close to the pit lane time, so a lot of communication, I think, probably happening across teammates, across technical alliances, because you do not want to come down to pit road on your own. So this is the point where if you don't already have a friend, you need to make one soon, as we go on board with the 18 machine of Bobby Zielinski. He rides third in line on the bottom, a top 5 car right now in the running order in the Interstate Batteries Toyota.
And one other thing, Evan, that all of these drivers are going to have to think about, and again, the continuing innovation from iRacing, is that one thing that is put in these cars that has received a lot of development is brake heating. So these drivers, while they're riding around here in the pack, you know in real life that some drivers, before you come down pit road, you got to give the brakes a couple of pumps, warm them up a little bit. That's a new challenge that these drivers have in this next-gen car. iRacing continuing to work and innovate, and that is something they have implemented into these cars is brake heat. So if you don't give those brakes a couple of pumps before you go down pit road, it's not going to respond very well. So that is one thing that these drivers, it's going to be a new challenge. So I guarantee there may be a driver or two that once we get to these green flag pit stops are going to send it just a little bit too hard getting into pit road, not warming up those brakes. And we're going to see a couple of them now. Femi Elenbuson coming to pit road, Colin Keister, a couple others following him as well.
Yeah, we do have some takers as pit stops, 40 laps down, 40 laps to go. So Elenbuson, Ray, Guest, Wilson, all down pit road. Cleanly executed for those drivers. That's the big takeaway, as they have to slow down to pit road speed of 60 miles an hour. Now, it opened up a bit of a hole in the middle of this lead pack, but look up top. It almost looks like those drivers are trying to find a way low. Logan Clampett now leading the outside. Remember, Conti sat up there all night long, Blake. He finally went low. Clear indication the 8 machine is going to be down pit road very soon. There's the on-board look with Michael Conti. You can see him in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. As always, that strategically placed Champions Trophy in shot again as here we go, 3 wide onto pit road. Your major players are in. Looks like it's a clean entry. Conti's in with Leahy, Clampett, DeYoung, Zielinski, and more.
Clean entry so far. Again, I guess those drivers, I shouldn't have told them that right before they came to pit road. Everybody coming in pretty clean, and this is a large group. You want to get off of pit road, form up. If you're staying out right here in this 5 or 6 car line, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that. You want to be able to come out with all of these guys, so if somebody has an issue in their box getting off pit road, you come out in a really small pack, and you're losing time to having about 25 cars as you see them exiting pit road 2 and 3 wide at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
And because Daytona is so big, drivers who pit for the lead pack won't lose their lead lap status. You can see Blake Reynolds, who assumed the race lead, is coming in this time. Dylan Duvall, a little bit sketchy under the brakes, but he's in clean enough. He's joined by Kerwin and Vincent in this latest group of drivers to head on down to the pit lane. And just like that, that is almost everybody. I think we are only waiting on Garrett Lowe, along with Liam Brotherton and Taylor Hurst to come down pit road. So, 37 drivers have been in, only waiting on 3 more, and there's only 2 in that lead group there, with the 54 machine of a lapped car actually actively working with Garrett Lowe, the 21 machine for Wood Brothers Racing. That Ford Mustang is your current race leader. Now, the 3 cars who we're waiting on, Lowe, Brotherton, and Hurst, Blake, they all topped off on that early yellow. That's why they've been able to get this far right now to lap 43.
They came down and topped off late, but again, every lap that they go, they are losing time to this lead pack. So every single lap that ticks on, you can run a lot faster with about 10 cars working in line. So even they know it. I think they're just hoping for a caution or something to happen to try and help them out here. But I really don't like this call, Evan, because every lap you go by, Garrett Lowe, that last time by, ran a 48.579, trying to go back to where some of these drivers are exiting that last time. Oh, but they're going to miss a wreck. Big wreck off at turn number 4. That's going to be a caution. Several drivers involved, and damage are spinning right there. You can see Logan Clampett involved, and, well, I guess I was totally wrong. Everything I just said, Evan, throw it out the window.
And that was friendly fire between teammates. You can see the damage on Logan Clampett's number 97 Logitech G Chevrolet, and it was contact between the William Byron Esports teammates trying to work from that higher line to the bottom, and just the slightest of touches gone wrong, Blake. They were trying to step down the hill. They were up in the middle because they were passing slower lapped cars. So that line snaked to the outside. They tried to snake back down. And when the 97 was coming down, the 25, just a little bit of a touch on the right rear to upset it. And it takes out both of those cars, plus several other of your race leaders, including Keegan Leahy.
Golly, how many times have we seen this? The second time we've had a caution caused by misalignment, by a 2-car tandem going wrong. And that's the risk you run, Evan. It's faster, but it's so risky to try and do that. Now, of course, Lowe and Peddle going to be a bit behind the 8 ball here. They're going to have to come down and top off. Everybody else can make it on fuel to the end, and tires not going to be an issue. But, man, these drivers are really pushing it, really risky. And, again, teammates. That's going to be an interesting debrief meeting tomorrow between Nick Ottinger and Logan Clampett and William Byron. Would like to be a fly on the wall, perhaps, in that conference room.
I mean, it's the cardinal rule is whatever you do, do not take out your teammate. And listen, it's a long way to go in the season. Is a bad start in Daytona going to tank your year? No. But will a bad start at Daytona make your year a little bit trickier? Make those, 13 other rounds until we get to the postseason to feel a little bit longer? Absolutely. So everybody pitted but those 3 we mentioned, and here they are. So this is actually going to hurt these drivers, I think, a little bit more, because if they were to pit under green, they were certainly giving away time for sure, Blake. But now the cars who just pitted, they're not coming back down on fuel. All those other drivers are good to go to the end of this race. So only those 3, plus a couple of stragglers. Looks like Mercurio's coming in, Derek Justice in. I'm sure some other drivers who picked up some damage in that incident going to be down pit road. But it's just that trio who had stayed out pitting for fuel, which means they go all the way to the tail end of the lead lap now, which at the moment still's got 32 cars on it.
Well, I know I had a little, or the 54 of Kyle Peddle had a little bit of damage, so he'll be able to fix that. He's 4 laps down. Liam Brotherton had some significant damage, so this actually helps him. He gets more time on pit road to fix that damage under caution. As we take another look, this is from Dylan Duvall, Stuart Haas's Esports Ford Mustang, and I'd say that's a pretty solid job. He does what I think most drivers attempt to do, Evan. You see a wreck in front of you, get down to the apron where there's a wide open space to try and miss something, and Duvall did a nice job avoiding that there.
He did, and the drivers around him as well did a good job. So many times when there's an incident up front, the drivers who see it first are going to react, they're going to get off the gas, they're going to get onto the brakes, and they'll actually get hit from somebody behind them. So the fact that that incident was as small as it was, with all those different cars and different lines and going different speeds, I think a testament to that everybody was paying attention. And we'll give some love to the spotters and the teams as well on the radio with all of these drivers for keeping them informed on what was going on around the racetrack. So it is interesting to note that we really didn't let things cycle all the way through. Colin Keister is now your race leader in this one. You can take a look at his number 43 machine right now. Not that he wasn't in a great position, but he was kind of on the border of a top 10 spot. Of course, depending on which group you came down to the pit lane in, Blake, some drivers had an advantage. Some drivers were catching based on how many cars they actually left pit road with. There's a ton of factors there, but the fact that Graham Bolin, Houston, Texas, for Charlotte Phoenix as your new race leader, I think is very notable.
It certainly is. Of course, if you want to learn more about signing up for iRacing, of course, you can do it today. Sign up at iRacing.com. Evan, I signed up 10 years ago, and look where we're at right now. We're calling the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. So if you're interested in what you see, and, of course, getting involved at Daytona Week, this is a fantastic week to get involved in iRacing, the dawn of a new season. It's an amazing time to hop on board. So sign up today at iRacing.com. And, of course, to learn more about this series and where we're going next, what all is going on, and, of course, to learn more about these wonderful drivers that are the best in the world competing for you tonight, visit iRacing.com/eNASCAR.
Hey, there's so many different things you can do on the service, but even just in the NASCAR space itself, so many options, right? You can compete through those official ladders and try to get to this level and compete in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series
and fail
one day.
If you're just throwing that out there.
At least I knew to not even bother. So you got a one-up on me, which is a low bar, but I'll still give that to you. I mean, you could race with your buddies, right? Have a good, relaxed time. You can race in some of the official and special events on the service. I know a lot of people on iRacing going to be racing in the iRacing Daytona 500 this weekend. I'll be in the booth for that tomorrow night here on iRacing. So tons of fun stuff. It really is a great opportunity and a good introductory week if you love plate racing to get involved on iRacing today. Pace car is going to be off it in this time, though, and there are only 33 laps to go when we come across the start-finish line. Fuel is good to the end. Is this the final restart of the afternoon? Green flag flies for Colin Keister. Back underway.
What a redemption story here for Colin Keister to lead this line. A brand new team coming into the series, taking a shot on an old veteran who is a winner in this series before. And Evan, looking at this restart, we talked about how even it's been. That bottom line looks awfully strong right there with Femi Elenbuson pushing him. And we got a spinner in the back. Casey Kerwin around.
Caution quickly off of the restart. They scatter behind. It is only Kerwin, I believe. Lots of other drivers using that wide backstretch to avoid further incident. And I
What a
think
save.
we barely avoid catastrophe there. And Kerwin's going to get away with relatively minor damage when it's all said and done. And listen, I'll take blame for that one. I said, could this be the last restart of the night? They instantly rebutted that. But tough break for Casey Kerwin. There's going to be a little bit of damage that they'll get touched up. But the big thing is, obviously, he's going to lose a ton of spots in the exit entry.
Well, here's our replay, Evan. And, of course, it's always so hard when you're in this series. 90% of the races you call in iRacing, when you see someone that's this sideways, they don't save it. And, man, did Ray Alfala come so close to getting involved in that one. Casey Kerwin, 90 degrees sideways off of turn 2.
Ray deserves credit for that, too, for getting off him. Because if Ray had gotten into the bumper there, spun him out, we could have been talking about a dozen cars. So credit to Casey, but look at that shot. I mean, credit to Ray for getting on the brakes and not making that worse.
Well, and credit to Bobby Zielinski as well. He kind of rode with Kerwin there and slowed down with him. Just touched him a tad, but could have made that wreck a lot worse. And, of course, could have ricocheted him up into Ray and a bunch of drivers there.
We will slow things down in pace behind the yellow flag here from Daytona International Speedway. Closing in on inside of 30 laps to go. Colin Keister is leading. You're watching the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series at Daytona.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
They call them photo finishes because you need to see them to believe them.
By a matter of inches.
And the Daytona 500 has had quite a few.
That was crazy.
But it's also had photo starts and photo drama. And definitely some photo-worthy cars. Lights, camera, start your engines. It's the biggest race of the year.
The Daytona 500.
I am the Daytona 500. I am NASCAR.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
Coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Asus, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedal set of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And by Playseat, the official racing chair of eNASCAR. Well, back live for the virtual Daytona International Speedway. There are less than 30 laps to go in this race, James Pike, and most of the action on pit road has been for guys getting beat up on.
Yeah, definitely a few guys that have been beat up on and a few guys that have been in trouble here. As we're now joined by William Byron Esports, Logan Clampett. And Logan, you were leading this race, then all of a sudden you were sideways. What did you feel from your perspective? What happened?
I was trying to communicate to Nick to get to the bottom there, and I guess it was just a miscommunication or something like that. He wouldn't quite get off my bumper and kind of just hooked it, and it was kind of on from there. It sucks. We really put ourselves in a great position to try and win the race. There's a pretty big mistake, but it is what it is, and we got plenty of races ahead of us and plenty more chances.
Eyes forward now towards the intermediate season in Las Vegas, I guess, next.
Yeah, Vegas next. Yeah, that should be a good one for us.
Logan, thanks for the time. And also, for what it's worth, Blake, I know you talked about that team meeting between the group. I happened to be in Nick's chat as the wreck was happening. He said, I needed Logan rather to stay up top. I can't make a move that aggressive. Logan also said a little bit later that I should have just stayed up top. So that meeting might actually be shorter than I think you think it might be. A bit of a mutual understanding and just human error there.
It sounds like it is. You see up front, Colin Keister trying to control things up here down the back straightaway. We're still seeing these two lines form out, but Evan, I think the desperation starts to set in. We're under 30 to go. If you're back there in 25th, you got to start making moves now. We've seen how clogged it can get, how hard it can be to make moves. So I think we're in for some good racing the rest of the time as you see DeYoung trying to control the lanes and hold the lead.
Yeah, what a block as that 23 car saw the outside starting to spool something up, and he jumped in front of them to shut it down, and Keister is not laying off of him. So the 43 all over the back of the 23 of Mitchell DeYoung right now, not cutting him much slack, and I don't like all of the bumper hooking that's going on up top. It's a little bit dicey now. Conti also goes to the outside. Keister wants to go to the middle, 3 wide for second spot, and through all of that, it's the 23 of DeYoung who ends up as the odd man out, and he is going all the way to the rear.
And how have we seen this, Evan, that the top lane left DeYoung to drive, and Keister is going to leave Conti out to dry. Keister to the race lead as we go on board with Garrett Maines leading that middle, Evan, and this is where this race is going to get good. If you're the leader, how do you control it? How do you play Dale Earnhardt Jr. at the front of this field? Keister, one of the more aggressive drivers in this series, going to try to hold serve to it. And, of course, if you're Garrett Maines, you can see him talking to his team, figuring out what they need to do, not pushing a teammate, but he's going to go up there and work with Graham Bolin of Charlotte Phoenix.
And you can see a bit of a twitch there as he touched the 48 machine. You have to assume that Bolin and Keister are going to want to work together here, but I'll tell you what, Colin Keister does not care who you are or how many race wins you have in this series. He just left 2 heavy hitters out to dry within a lap of each other. On board now with Femi Olat working on the inside line. Behind him, you can see Malik Ray tucked up in line as well. These drivers trying to make that bottom lane work, which has been the safer of the options to this point. Question is, though, again, laps starting to run out. Do you really want to get stuck down there on the bottom? Femi's got ample opportunity to go to the outside if he wants to right now. It's there. He holds the bottom. He likes running second in line to Keister as they go now.
He's running second in line, and the reason he can do that is look at the 7 car behind him of Malik Ray, which, by the way, what a redemption story for Malik Ray. Made it back into this series off of a tiebreaker from the Contender Series, 1 point less, and he's out, and he's not in the Coke Series, and here he is with 26 laps to go, running third on the inside line at Daytona. But Malik Ray doing a great job shoving Femi Olat forward as we look further back in the field. Casey Kerwin might be damaged, but that's not going to keep him from going up the middle 3 wide.
Yeah, I mentioned it could have been a lot worse, and you can definitely see the damage on the driver's side door, but not enough to keep him down and out. He's not really sure what lane he wants to be in, though. Went to the outside, wanted to go low. Look out. Matt Busa was there. In the Motorsports Ford in the 95, nearly chopped him off. Oh, and there's contact behind. Derek Justice, what a save. Now another spinner, the 17 of Honeycutt, and again, somehow, they all hang on.
And meanwhile, up front, change for the race lead. Redemption story might continue to happen for Malik Ray as he collects it up front. Great driving, great saving in the back of the field. Malik Ray to the top spot, and just as quickly as I say that, Olat and Keister will tandem out. This is getting good, Evan.
It is getting good late in the race here from Daytona. 24 laps to go till we crown the winner in the season opener in 2022. So Malik Ray leads the outside. The 48 Michigan Graham Boland pushing him in second. Haven't talked much about Garrett Mays. We saw the onboard look with him. He's third in line up top. Another driver who's been pretty quiet tonight, but in the picture all night, Michael Guest in the 9 car. On the bottom, we've talked about all those drivers, led by Keister, Ola. Now you got the 10 of Ishida, Steven Wilson, the 41 of Dylan Duvall in the mix as well. And as we close in on the final 20 laps of this race, here's what it looks like from behind the driver's seat. It's the Logitech G onboard camera. You saw the quick reaction there from the 23 Mitchell the Young. That was Vicente Salas behind him, trying to get to his outside and put him 3 wide. And Mitchell didn't want that to happen, threw a little bit of a block on him further down the road. Drivers starting to get really territorial about them getting caught out of line. And you can see the 3 wide again here. Now DeYoung is stuck up on the outside. Vicente's with him, but that's all because the 40 of Dylan Alt started to go up the middle. Now Alt's going to fall back, get passed up on the bottom by the number 55 machine of Alan Bose. So ample movement here back in the pack as we take a look now with the place seat on board camera, and the 55 of Bose going to shoot up the middle.
Bo's going to try to go to the middle there. Salas working that outside line. And this is exactly where it's getting good, Evan. We talked about it earlier. If you're 15th on back, you got to be desperate to try to make it forward.
Doing everything he can. He looks calm and collective. Let's see it from his perspective. And a caution flag for a spin behind. He avoided it once, but could not do it again. The 12 of Derek Justice is around on the back straightaway, and we will have a yellow inside of the final 20 laps of this race. And the replay is going to show us, Blake, Derek really wasn't how all of this started. It was Caden Honeycutt on a single file line well off of the race leaders that just got a little bit out of line on a touch on the bumpers. Very similar to what we saw happen with the William Byron Esports duo, and then Justice came in late. Let's watch that 17.
Again, you could see just sensitive bumps and how it gets him out of shape. Honeycutt gets out of the way, and then Justice, it looked like he was aiming for Honeycutt, but he got hit from behind. Liam Brotherton, who was back here, he was about the 7th or 8th car in line, so couldn't see Honeycutt getting spun and can't see the checkup at all. So he gets into Justice, and that shoots the 12 car right into the oncoming Honeycutt. Just nothing really for Justice to do, and honestly, looking at that from Brotherton's perspective, he could not see a thing of Honeycutt spinning out.
Another incident that kind of started out of nothing. We've seen so many incidents that happened. Let's take a look. This is the look behind Derek Justice. You'll see the touch after the spin happens up the road. Right there. There's the punt. Obviously not intentional from behind, but I mean, there was nothing Justice could have done to avoid that.
No, absolutely not. And remember, we're riding on board with the bumper cam, so if anything, we're still looking a little higher up at what's going on in front of them. If you're in a tandem, you're in a line like that, you can barely see past the car in front of you. So I know there from the bumper cam, it looks like Brotherton may have had an idea, but watching from the cockpit in my own sim, Brotherton had no clue that that was coming.
So another caution flag, slow thing down. A couple of drivers towards the rear coming in mainly for damage repairs at this point. There may have been a question at the halfway point when we saw drivers pit for fuel that they may not have had a ton left for overtime. I think these caution flags have certainly answered that question, that everybody should be able to go the distance plus a little bit extra if so necessary. but we haven't seen up until those last 10 laps, really, Blake, drivers trying to make third lanes and leaving people out to dry. And you said, listen, 25 to go, we need to get up and on the wheel. And certainly they were listening in, because by far and large, the most aggressive racing to be saw was on that last run.
Well, and it came from a majority of drivers who were 15th on back. And I think as we continue to inch closer to the end of this race, you're going to see that get to 10th. You're going to see it get to the top 5. And eventually everybody's going to be willing to make those types of moves. And with 20 to go, I think we're at that point. You're looking on right there on your screen, Colin Keister, Charlotte Phoenix Toyota. We've shown he's already been so aggressive at the front of the field, blocking, trying to keep that lead. The pack tends to respond to that. They tend to respond to the aggression of the race leader. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to start to see that kind of infect the rest of the field, that everybody's going to start making those desperate moves.
Looking at 32 cars still scored on the lead lap in this race, and some of those drivers are damaged. That account includes the likes of Honeycutt and Justice. So you probably got somewhere around 26, 27 competitive race cars still in this one. And we talk about Derek Justice in this one. James, you've got him now.
Do have the Kentucky native Derek Justice with us. Derek, just tough break there. Not really much I think you could do. Do you feel like there was anything else you could have done to avoid that?
Not really. It's just I was trying to get back in line 2 laps prior to that, and I don't know. I don't know if that was my fault. Then I lost the draft, and then he had a small crew behind us there. And I was just trying to get tucked back in line, and hopefully the main pack will get involved in an accident. And it's just then that small pack. I don't know what happened there. And then saw a car sideways. I let off the gas, and I just got pushed right through it. So and nothing I could do there.
Thanks for the time, Derek. Best of luck. We'll look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas in a few weeks' time.
All right, thanks.
Drivers getting turned around and people starting to formulate plans, hearing that Parker Retzlaff might try and work with some of the leaders here. He's a little bit further back in the field in 14th, but just caught a clip of his radio, heard some of the big names. The Malik Rays, the Graham Bones company, might try and work with some of the best to maybe try and get a victory lane.
Hey, Parker's did a good job tonight at gaining spots. I mentioned earlier how we didn't see a ton of big movers. Now we do. Ray Alfala's plus 29. Retzlaff is plus 27. So there are ample drivers who have gained a lot since the start of this race. And now inside of 20 laps to go, it's time to do something about it. For this restart, let's ride on board with Nick Ottinger. It's Logitech G onboard camera with 17 laps to go. Vicente Salas back in 19th position. He's got some work to do. You saw his perspective there with the play seat onboard camera. It is no holds bar racing now at Daytona. 3 wide in the lead pack, but they are all trying to crack those top 5, who for the moment still hold strong, racing 2 by 2. Still the 79 division now of Femi Elenbuson leading this race. He has gone to the outside line, and that means that Colin Keister on the attack leads the bottom and will challenge for the race lead. 3 wide behind him.
3 wide, looking 4 wide nearly as Ray Alfala being aggressive. He's got the help of another champion, and Nick Ottinger has finally made those moves work. Alfala been the most aggressive driver I think I've seen so far today, and just as quickly as that happened, that lane kind of fades out, but nevertheless, 2 by 2 here, tandemed up here at the front of the field. Malik Ray and Colin Keister doing great work on the bottom. They had fallen back about 3 rows, and Malik Ray, we know he's one of the best in the business when it comes to these super speedway tracks, and he has pushed Keister out there to the front.
He's got him all the way to the front. What's he going to do with it now? Here's the perspective on the inside line at a Dylan Duval, one of the many Canadians in the field here tonight. But look to his right-hand side, a third lane brewing. Casey Kerwin leading the charge up the middle, damage and all. Kerwin's working with quite the list of drivers. Alfala's in the middle. The 25 of Ottinger's in the middle. The 8 of Conti's there. So a lot of heavy hitters trying to make the inside line work, and this looks like last year's opener now. 3 wide all throughout the lead pack, side-by-side racing for the lead, and all with less than 15 laps to go.
Well, and for that middle lane to work, they have to pinch the bottom. That is going to work for the top of the top of the racetrack. So as you see this middle continue to creep forward and gain some momentum, that bottom line is going to continue to die out because they're side drafting all the help and momentum away. But oh lot, what an incredible crossover to the bottom to get in front of Colin Keister. Zielinski, you could see that from Zielinski, but trying to find a way to navigate the track's clogged, and there's not a whole lot that Zielinski could do right now.
Yeah, it's not a good look for him. He's got a lot of work to do and not a lot of options. You saw Kerwin sidestep from the middle lane to the bottom. That third lane now has started to die out. It seems that you're able to get a run, but the second that momentum dies in the middle, you need to get high or you need to get low. You can't continue to stick around. Now they're going to try again. The 75 machine going to go from top to mid. That's Matt Busa in the Mode Motorsports Ford. He'll jump down now, get pushed by the 25 machine of Ottinger through the middle, and the inside line now with life against once more. Bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you'll get a second look at what happened from the perspective there of Femi Elenbuson there. As they ran off and into turns 3 and 4, there was the slide down to the bottom, and I'll tell you what, that time there, cut a break there. Femi made a late dive down to the 43 machine.
He cut him a little bit of a break, but also Keister has not laid off of him. We saw it earlier when he got a block thrown at him. And I know Colin Keister, if you decide to throw a block on him, you better be ready for the punch that's coming. So Keister will help you, but you better be able to hang on to your race car. But again, at that Mode Motorsports machine, though, leading that middle line, it looked pretty sporty there, but Matt Busa slowly starting to fade back. Again, they got to pinch that bottom lane to try to make it work, and right now that bottom's still a bit too strong. I think if you're in the middle, you got to pull that bottom lane back, and right now they're not doing it as effectively to try to make up ground.
The inside line there is the best place to be, it seems. The middle still stuck at about 5 car lengths back from being there with the leader. So a little bit of a bobble there. Matt Busa getting pushed aggressively by Nick Ottinger, and you saw the 75 machine get uncomfortable. There is zero margin for error in that middle line, and it looks like they lost a bit of their momentum that time at 1 and 2. They will fall backwards again. It is still Femi Elenbuson leading the inside line. Colin Keister second, Malik Ray now in third as the top side lags a little bit back.
Well, another thing that happens, Evan, that Nick Ottinger is pushing that middle line, and the longer he pushes it, he's heating up. That's why he almost spun Busa right there. He's trying to get some clean air, so Busa almost needs somebody, while he has clean air, his temps are cool. He needs someone to jump down in front of him to make that middle line work, as we're going to hop on board here with Jimmy Mullis.
Here's the onboard look with Jimmy, and again, similar situation to what we saw at Zielinski. Where do you go if you're the driver of the 46 machine? There's not a lot of options. There's less cars in that middle lane, but he can see the momentum's not real consistent there. He goes up to the outside. Again, though, when you're up top, you're the dozen, your car number dozen in line, I should say. I mean, there's just very limited options. You'll get a little bit of space there, but again, stuck. What are you going to do? Now you're boxed in on the third and outmost lane. So these drivers inside of 10 to go. If you're outside of the top 10, top 15, you are running low on options. Michael Conti was 19th at the stripe last time. He wants to make the middle work, but again, it's Matt Busa blocking the middle to try to get a push and seemingly slowing it down.
Well, and again, Evan, we see this middle starting to form. I'm wondering when that top lane that's running up front, Malik Gray, Graham Bolin right now at the moment, Garrett Maines, when are they going to bring that top lane and kind of block the middle and pinch that inside line? I think that's what's going to happen for that upper lane to prevail is you're going to have to continue to pull back that inside line. I know I keep saying that, but I think that's the only way you're going to get it done. Malik Ray right now leading that top line is still pretty close to the outside retaining wall, within about half a car width of it. But if you want to make that top lane work, you got to stay organized, and you're going to have to, at some point, drag back that inside line with the side draft.
Spinner on the back straightaway, it's Alan Bowes. No caution, we stay green. Just one car that kind of got spit out of line, and now there's 8 laps to go from Daytona. Malik Ray was the 3rd car in line on the bottom. Now he leads the outside, being pushed by Graham Bolin. We see so much movement from 10th to 20th. These top 10 have been pretty solid in their positioning for the last couple of laps. Now the inside starting to stack up. There's daylight for the 7 car up front. Does Malik Ray want to go to the inside? Thought about it, pulls the trigger. He'll jump down now, and Malik Ray leads the inside off of 4.
And that's not what Femi Elenbuson wanted to see. He had controlled this race, but Bolin did a great job moving Ray out. He was almost clear himself, so that top lane started to prevail, and now Graham Bolin leading that outside line with Garrett Maines, but Malik Ray controlling just like he wants to do. Olak going to jump up top, though, and Ray, not a lot of help directly behind him. Can he hang on as a caution is out in the back of the pack?
Caution inside of the final 10, and we are not done yet. Nick Ottinger is one of the drivers involved after a spin towards the rear of the lead pack down in turns 1 and 2. Interestingly enough, I mentioned the spin from Alan Bowes. The driver who nearly got collected in that one 2 laps ago was Nick Ottinger. So Ottinger survived that one, but he did not get away with this one. And the replay will show that he got loose, but he had to make an abrupt lane change because Ray Alfala, I believe, Blake, made quite a dive to try to get in line up top. 25 tried to turn out of that one and spun collecting Mercurio. Let's watch.
And you see right there, Alfala been so aggressive and just gets right in front of Ottinger, who tried to get out of the way, may have had some help and contact. And unfortunately out there, I know Wendy's has been a star in the Twitch chat, but a major Brian alert. He has hit the outside wall very hard, a significant amount of damage to that 36 car. So tough there for the new partners enjoying this race out there.
So a tough break for those drivers. You could tell they were getting desperate, right? They were in the high teens. Alfala was dropping back in the middle, made quite a spirited move up top, and Nick Ottinger could have lifted, but instead he wanted to, keep the momentum, tried to slice underneath Alfala, and very similar to the Kyle Pettel incident from earlier, when you give it that much wheel input with how much these cars are on edge, it just hooked him right around, and Mercurio was just so unfortunate to be right there on the bottom. We saw the onboard look. Here's the outside look again. Alfala steps up. Ottinger wants to go to the middle. The second he turns that wheel, it's spinning down to the bottom. Mercurio gets tagged, and you saw the 21 machine also just get a piece of that one.
Well, and I think this goes back to, I heard a conversation that Dale Earnhardt Jr. had when he tested this car at Daytona with the racket pinion steering and how much quicker it is, how it reacts. I think Nick Ottinger has made that move 1,000 times in a car where the steering is not quite so reactive. And with this car, with the shorter sidewall, with the shorter on the tire and the less side force, and of course the quicker reacting racket pinion steering, I think that's just a case in point of drivers having to get used to having new components with this car and getting used to how it handles. That's a seamless reaction right there, and unfortunately for him doesn't work out. We've caught up here with Femi Elenbuson, who has been up front so much in this race. Femi, I know it's working through your mind right here, under 5 to go. Do you like the position you're in? What are you thinking of doing here, whether you're in second or perhaps in the lead?
I do like my position. I was kind of annoyed when the caution came out because I was figuring Graham was going to be in third, but I'm going to have him pushing, so I think we're just going to try to commit to each other and try to get each other the best finish we can here.
All right, so forming alliances with Graham, is there anywhere else you're looking for help, or are you just going to try to go get it done with that number 48 who's going to line up directly behind you?
I think, honestly, my best help is whatever line the energy comes from. I just got to stare at my mirror the whole time. My contact in my right eye is actually starting to go dry a bit because I'm just so wide-eyed staring at my mirror the whole time, trying not to blink so I don't miss anything. But if it's not coming from Graham, well, it's going to have to come from someone. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, Femi, any last thoughts before you could potentially win your first eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race?
I hope everyone enjoys the show that's about to happen.
No pressure, by the way. But Femi, thank you for catching up with us. Wish you the best of luck out there.
Thank you.
Remember, one lap to go before the restart, and that means, of course, Malik Ray is going to go to the inside of the front row. Femi's going to find himself up on the outside. The big story and big takeaway there, I think, of like the fact that he's happy the 48 machine, Graham Boland's going to be behind him. He didn't really care about the yellow itself. He was just worried that he was going to lose the 48 machine, and now that they're working together, he feels pretty confident, but also Graham's got his teammate with Charlotte Phoenix in Colin Keister underneath him. So are they all three going to work together, or does Femi end up as the odd man out there?
Well, that's yet to be seen, Evan, and we love seeing these cross alliances. Of course, Femi Olat, completely different team for Clint Boyer Racing, trying to work with somebody out of the Charlotte Phoenix against somebody who's Charlotte Phoenix. And, of course, Malik Ray up here, his iRacing Motorsports teammate Derek Justice got wrecked a little bit earlier, so Malik Ray kind of hanging out to dry up here. He's in the best spot. He's in the catbird seat, but not a lot of help up here at the front for Malik Ray to try to get it done.
This restart will happen in regulation. It will be with 3 laps to go the next time by, so we are not yet in eNASCAR overtime. That is important to note. We have 29 cars still on the lead lap and a handful of drivers up front and in contention for their first career wins in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. The inside, the outside, I mean, we've seen them both be viable options. Blake, what are you looking for here?
I'm looking for that middle lane, that top lane. We've seen it work on the wall all night. I think you're going to see it move a little bit lower and really try to kill off the run from that bottom lane.
Pace car's off and in. Malik Ray going to be the control car for the inside of the front row. Green flag flies. 3 laps to go from Daytona. They are all over each other down to turn number 1, but they're already stacking up. Guess gets squeezed wide. The 75 of Busa wants to go up the middle. Can't do it.
Oh, you see your top 2 right there, Ray on the inside, on the track, and on your screen. Great formation there. A wonderful push there for Colin Keister. Will Keister try to make a move off of turn 2, though?
Inside still the place to be for the moment as the 43 of Keister rides second. I think Femi Olat's got just enough of a nose to the outside that the 43 can't go high. Now through 3 and 4, fully up to speed, 192 miles an hour for the leaders. Look at the outside. The 48 trying to tandem with the 79. Oh, we got all kinds of loose, though, off of turn number 4, looking for 2 laps to go.
How long can these guys push? Their temperature's starting to climb. They can't do it much longer. Keister's going to have to separate, or Graham Boland as well, to cool that car down, try to step out of line. And, of course, they want their chance to win and lock themselves into the playoffs. Big run off at turn number 2. Femi Olat will nose in front. Graham Boland in tandem with him.
And it's working so far. That 48 machine taking the risk, but pushing them all the way through. They are clear to the outside. Here comes the 75 of Busa 3 wide. Femi Olat steps down, though. Graham Boland goes with. There's the accident. Malik Ray in front of the field. A caution before we get to the white flag. And this race is going to overtime.
Oh, Malik Ray, heartbreak here as it looks like he just got hooked around. Another 2-car tandem gone wrong as it hooked him around. And you can see devastation for Malik. He knew that this is such a great opportunity for him to win. You hate to see it because he had run so well. Barely clawed his way back into this series. We were all rooting for him.
He talked about the tie break that got him back to this point, was in his 56th career start in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, at a very good position to fight for a first career win, and for all of the aggressive pushing that the 48 and the 79 were able to get away with up top, Blake, the 43 and the 7 were not. They're pretty lined up right there. You just get a little bit out of line, and it hooked that 7 car right up into the field, and about a half a dozen other race cars get involved, the 24, the 41, and others.
Yeah, that's why it's so good to be out front. Everybody who was working about fifth on back, getting some form of damage or caught up in this one. A really long list of cars involved in that one. Casey Kerwin, Colin Keister, obviously, was the initial contact made there. But I believe both Motorsports entries got at least something out of that. And Matt Busa and, of course, Cody Bias looking to reach victory lane once again in this series. Keegan Leahy got tagged. Vicente Salas into the outside wall. So a lot happening there at the end. And we're starting to run out of cars, Evan, that haven't seen some form of damage here. But we still got a couple left here at the front that are good for racing for a green-white checkered.
There's some that have got a good look, and it's funny, right? You talk about how aerodynamically sensitive a race like this is. We've seen guys like Casey Kerwin be pretty much unaffected by minor damage, right? He got doored a little bit earlier in this thing. The Bradani 5 car is in P6. There's some back-end damage to the 31 of Bashida Garrett Maines, who's going to restart in third. So it's not ideal, but a little bit of damage here and there is not going to take you out of this race. It may be tough if you get up front in the clean air on your own to defend if you're getting weighed down by a little bit of damage, but certainly in the pack, you are still extremely competitive. So what this will do, I mentioned eNASCAR overtime, Blake. This will push us to attempt number 1 of 3 at a green-white checkered overtime finish, which means when the lights go out on top of the pace car and we restart this race, we will have a 2-lap shootout. That's the green. If they get to the white, this race is official. It will race out to the end. If they don't, we'll try again up to as many as 3 attempts at a green-white checkered eNASCAR overtime finish.
And exactly right, Evan. Exactly like real life, aside from the fact that if we get to that white flag, we will finish the race. Obviously, here in the sim, we don't have to worry about safety concerns if there is a crash on the white flag lap. So you see the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, eNASCAR overtime. Just like real life, just if we get to that white flag, we are going to have a winner take the checkered flag under green.
That is the main goal, of course, is to go to overtime. We mentioned earlier in this race, right? I talked about that pit stop towards halfway, that maybe it wasn't going to get there. Fuel might have been a question. Everybody should be good on a fuel to the end. Lights are out on top of the pace car. There's a lot of drivers looking for a first career win here. Femi Elenbuson's got a real good opportunity coming up, James, but Malik Ray was so close until he was involved in that last incident.
Malik had it tough. It was a big wreck there for Malik there at the end of this. And Malik, disappointment clear and obvious. In your own words, what happened there at the end of that?
Someone got neck coated and I got right hooked and destroyed into the outside wall. Not really much I could do to avoid that situation.
Can you put into words, how much it hurts, how painful it is, given your prowess here at the plate tracks?
It's very annoying, but I mean, it's just a part of the simulator, so I don't have a choice but to just man up and just head to the next track.
Malik Ray out of contention for the win here at Daytona. Also had the chance to listen to Garrett Maines, where team boss Elliott Sadler himself was on the comms and said very plainly with regards to Femi, push him as much as you can, get clear of that outside lane, and make it a one-on-one battle to the line in whatever way possible.
I think we're going to see these NASCAR next-gen cars get really wide, Blake. Dale Earnhardt Jr. tweeted earlier today that this current super speedway package on the surface may be the best it's ever been, and it's going to be no holds bar now for 2 laps.
Absolutely. We get to see full scale what these drivers are capable of. All the practice that they've come down to, a shot of the playoffs, and to start the season with the win at Daytona. Let's see what happens.
Pace car down and in. Green flag flies for attempt number 1 at an overtime restart. Green flag flies for Femi Elenbuson on the bottom, but a huge gap back from the 31 car. So he's got help from Maines, but they need Steven Wilson to get there quick as the Charlotte Phoenix duo is going to link up on the outside.
Well, they got to be careful right there that Steven Wilson doesn't try to get out of line. And you see him right there. They're going to try to pull Garrett Maines back, but don't look now. But Michael Conti making that outside work in that third lane. They may be a factor as they work into turn number 3.
Still just those two on the outside. Conti tried to make a third lane work. Didn't happen. Now a little bit of tandem drafting in turns 3 and 4. Still Femi Elenbuson and Garrett Maines 1-2. Where does Wilson go? A spinner behind. Spinning to the inside. One of the Charlotte Phoenix entries. One car. No caution. White flag. This race is official.
And these top three, they need to stay organized. If they start racing each other, they are going to give up a huge run. Another crash in the back. It is official. Ray Alfala's turned around, and here comes Colin Keister to the outside. Michael Conti in tow.
Conti doesn't like it, though. He goes to the inside. Now back to the outside. So Conti pushing Keister's 43. Still a trio of Olot, Maines, Wilson working on the inside to 3 and 4.
To 3 and 4 they go. Garrett Maines, what's he going to do? I believe he'll try to get to the right rear here off of turn number 4. Will Olot be ready for the move? Let's see it.
He looks to the outside. Maines high. Olot low. Side by side for the race win at Daytona. 3 wide underneath the photo finish. It is Femi Olot, the sophomore for Clint Boyer Racing, is a first-time winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
By 9 1/1000ths of a second.
And he wipes the sweat off his forehead and a huge smile for Femi Elenbuson. They gave him everything he could handle. And honestly, Blake, off of 4, I thought it was gone. Garrett Maines had set it up perfectly. Maines had looked to the outside, and it was a last-second shove by the 10 car behind. Wilson gave him a little bit more life. Wilson looked underneath, and in a 3-wide finish, Femi Elenbuson now is a race winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and he's got some celebrating to do here in the season opener. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR.
What a great moment. A first-time winning moment there for Femi Elenbuson, who I think will be sharing a couple of Coca-Colas with Steven Wilson, who played a major factor in pushing him across the line in a photo finish for all 3 drivers. Steven Wilson finished 3rd by 11 1/1000ths of a second. So a classic race here, Evan, and amazing for Femi Elenbuson, a first-time winner in the Coke Series to come here at Daytona.
An incredible finish to this race, and what an ending for Femi Elenbuson to join the who's who list of drivers who have won in the very top level of oval sim racing here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race, and of course it all comes down to the green-white checkered overtime restart, and really down to the final couple hundred of feet, because right here Garrett Maines is ahead, but Wilson gives him a touch, then looks to the inside, and in the final 150 feet, the 79 gets a nose in front. It is a 3-wide photo finish for the ages, and by 9 1/1000ths of a second, Femi Elenbuson takes home the checkered flag and becomes the 59th different driver all time to get a win in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And Blake, you've got him now.
Yes, we do. Let's talk to him. Femi, we asked it before. Now that it's official, how does it feel to be an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series winner?
Man, I mean, what a way to start off the year, right? You know, I just gotta thank everybody who's been supporting me throughout the whole ride, man. Especially after the bad luck that I had last year. There's so much bad luck, and then I had good luck this season, or so far, to start off this race, to have Steven be able to just give me that little push I needed to be able to clear Garrett and get the win, man. You know, I don't even know what to say. Like, there's just so much happening right now. So many people were sending congratulations in the sim and through TeamSpeak, man. Like, just so much is happening, man. I just so happy.
It's a popular win for sure, Femi. And, it wasn't an accident. Obviously, you come home, you win in a classic finish, but this was a race that you dominated. You led a lot. You were up front, making a lot of aggressive moves. Kind of describe with this new car how you were able to stay up front for so many laps and be up here at the end to have a chance to win this race.
A lot of it was just staying patient early on, especially to start off the race, before like lap 40. The Conti cars and the Quenta guys kind of just controlled the field. So at that point, I was just thinking, all right, just stay patient, try to learn something. or try to set up for the end of the race. And, we got a bit lucky with a bit of contact in front of us. And then from that point on, I think the furthest back I felt was maybe third. And so just trying to make the right move at the right time. And we definitely made that move.
Well, Femi, the first of a potential 10 locked in postseason spots comes to you, assuming you could stay in the top 20 in points. Femi, congratulations, and go and enjoy that win.
Thank you. I also got to give a quick shout out to, the guys at Clint Boyer Racing. Thank you for bringing me on. I'm so happy to get a win in my first race with them. That's so awesome. And, hopefully it's the start of many more.
I don't have a stat guy with me, but I believe the first win in the series for Clint Boyer Racing since our Countdown to Green partner, Brandon Cattell, won all the way back at Talladega a couple of years ago. Garrett Maines, though, heartbreak for the driver of the 31. It looked like you had everything sorted out. You made the perfect move off of turn number 4. Just didn't end up getting it done by the closest of margin.
Yeah, that... Man, do I keep having to talk about finishing second this weekend? But yeah, it was so close. I knew it was going to come down to, if I had help or not. I also knew that, there were teammates behind me, so I was kind of in trouble. I felt like I made the best, of my options there, and 9,000ths of a second. Why?
Well, again, another person that was chasing their first win in this series, but nevertheless, obviously you don't get that coveted locked-in postseason spot, but leaving Daytona with what these drivers were talking about pre-race, we had a lot of drivers with an early exit. I believe there's some party that has to be happy coming out of here with a very good points day.
I mean, I would say that party is probably me. I mean, I can't really be disappointed with second. In reality, that was way more than most people come into Daytona or come out of Daytona with. So, to start off the season the right way at a plate track, the wild card race, I feel like I'm strong on plate tracks, but it's good to get that, that solid finish to start, good platform to build off of. We had a really good car. We executed on pit road perfectly. That strategy that team put together was on point. So, big shout out to everybody at Elliott Sadler Esports for, being calculated today. That was a big part of this.
Nevertheless, a very great start to the year. Heartbreak at the end, but nevertheless, I think you'll be happy with that one and a good amount of momentum to build off of. Thank you, Garrett, for the time. And again, best of luck when we go to Vegas here in a couple weeks.
I appreciate it, guys. Also, got to give a shout out to ChevyLiners.com, Leaf Filter Gutter Protection, Lennox, MCU Body, all the guys at Elliott Sadler Esports for all the hard work this week. Same with all the guys at Lowline. This week, this is a big step in the right direction.
It certainly is, as we move on from Garrett Maines to a driver that largely played a big factor at the end of that race, gave Femi Elenbuson the shove he needed, and nearly won it on his own down there on the apron. Steven Wilson coming off a remarkable rookie campaign. He followed up here with a podium finish at Daytona.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Daytona is kind of not one of those where I feel like I do a very good job, but it's really all about putting yourself in the right position. We did that today, and it was really close, 0.011. I'm going to remember that for a while probably, but could have turned left on Femi, but it kind of looked like he was going to block it, so I turned back and just pushed him because I wanted at least one of us two to win, as he's one of my best friends on here, so happy we could do it.
Well, good that you were able to help out a friend there and wrap it up in third. But Steven, you build off incredible momentum. You move forward to a new team in Stuart-Haas Esports, but it seems like it won't really slow down here to start 2022.
Yeah, a third place at Daytona is definitely a great start. Vegas, hopefully, we did good there last year. That was second place finish. So hopefully this momentum keeps building, and this new car, we can have some good success with it.
All right. He relatively quiet, but was there at the end up front all day long. Steven Wilson, congratulations on third place finish, and go get him in Vegas. And Evan, what an incredible race here as we take a look at the result.
First to second, 9 1,000ths of a second. Second to third, just 2. What a 3-wide finish. Femi Elenbuson is a first-time winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series ahead of Garrett Maines and Steven Wilson. So much as well went down on the final lap. Michael Conti and Jimmy Mullis, a couple of vets, get in the top 5 ahead of Blake Reynolds, Dylan Duvall, Colin Keister, Keegan Leahy, and Taylor Hurst, your top 10.
Bobby Zielinski, Mitchell DeYoung. You see a couple of names up here. Some good early starts for Liam Brotherton, Nick Shelton, Dylan All. A couple of rookies up there around the top 15 having some solid runs.
There were, and of course, now you look at the drivers who had some issues, right? Logan Clampett was up in the conversation at points. He wrecked out. Of course, Colin Debout and Derek Bordeaux, all of those names involved in incidents early in this race. Never really got a shot to fight for the race win. Now, I'm talking about being out west, Blake. We're headed to the entertainment capital of the world. It is Viva Las Vegas in 2 weeks' time. My commute's going to be nice and short for the first intermediate race of the year for round 2 in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. You know, I was fortunate enough to go out to Vegas last year. Absolutely loved it. Great weather, great racing facility out there. And I think, again, this will be a great litmus test for these cars and how they're going to handle on the mile and a half. This is going to be a great preview for what we're going to see throughout this season.
You can prep yourself for all of the gambling-related jokes, rolling the dice, all of those kind of things, because we'll certainly be talking about that next week. But I think it's a big step forward tonight. We're underway. You get those round 1 nerves and jitters out of the way. Listen, there's a lot of drivers who are going to be behind, right? They expected that. Listen, it's Daytona. You kind of come in with a bit of cynicism. Great start for guys like Femi Elenbuson. He's going to have to focus, as you mentioned, on being in the top 20 of the points to remain competitive for the playoffs. And there's so many other drivers now who may have to dig themselves out of a little bit of a hole after not the best start in the season opener. Although that does it for us here tonight for the virtual Daytona International Speedway. So on behalf of our entire team, from everybody behind the scenes, from our iRacing office just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, for the entire team at Coca-Cola Racing and for NASCAR, for our pit road reporter, James Pike downstairs, from our broadcast partner, Blake McCandless, and myself, Evan Pasocco. I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Femi Elenbuson as a first-time winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We'll see you next time on Tuesday, March 1st for the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway.